A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
Your Coca-Cola bottler presents Claudia. Claudia, based on the original stories by Rose Franken. Brought to you, transcribed Monday through Friday by your friendly neighbor who bottles Coca-Cola. Relax, and while you're listening, refresh yourself. Have a Coke. And now, Claudia.
Office of Roger Killian. Mr. Norton. He's busy on another call. Will you hold on for a moment?
Can I see Mr. Norton?
Mr. Norton's busy, and he has another call waiting.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll just sit here.
Why, you're Mrs. Norton, aren't you?
Well, yes, how do you know?
Well, I certainly ought to recognize you. I've heard your voice so often.
And you're Carol. I mean, Miss...
Miller.
Mr. Norton talks so much about Carolyn, I guess I've gotten used to thinking of you without a last name.
Well, just keep on calling me Carolyn. You can go right in, Mrs. Norton.
Isn't he busy?
I don't think he could be too busy to see you. Mr. Kelly, you can have Mr. Norton now.
Hello. David.
Hello. Oh, hello, darling. I'll be off the phone in a minute. No, I didn't call you darling, Kelly. I've been calling you a lot of things this afternoon, but darling wasn't one of them. Sit down, darling.
Thank you.
Now, look, your contract calls for the structural steel specifications to be completed today, and you're late. All right, then. Work overtime. We pour concrete at 8 in the morning. If your steel isn't ready, we'll pour it down your neck. Oh. I can forget about it, huh? That's all I wanted to hear you say. And good luck.
Darling, you're wonderful pouring all that concrete down people's necks. Do you do that all day?
Do what?
Throwing things around and bellowing at Mr. Kelly and...
Bellow at Kelly?
He sounded as you're ready to kill each other.
He's my pal. He's a honey and a sweetheart with steel.
You didn't talk to him as if he were.
Listen, darling, I was so gentle, he probably thinks I'm mad at him. Kelly uses language like steel, strong and to the point. Oh, hello. Hello, Kelly. No, I wasn't sore. If you say the job will be ready, then it'll be ready. I just wanted to hear you say it. What? Oh, there was a lady in my office, you thick-headed galoot. I said a lady. The lady's my wife. Yeah, sure, I'll tell her. Yeah, so long. You see, his feelings were hurt. He thought I was angry with him because I spoke so nicely to him.
David, I'm seeing a brand new side of you. I like it, darling. Kiss me.
Well,
Now, what do you want me to come to town for? What are you going to tell me?
Tell you?
Yes, your sweetheart with steel said to tell your wife something.
Oh,
Go on, what?
Well, he said to ask you what a fine girl like you was doing married to a mug like me.
What a beautiful compliment. I don't know if it is. He hasn't seen me.
Well, that was just his way of saying that you must be a fine girl, if such a wonderful mug as I married you.
You know, I think I like Mr. Kelly. Kiss me again, wonderful mug. David, you realize this is the first time I've been in your office. It's a very lovely one.
Has to be. We work with all of our clients here.
And I didn't know you could see all over the city like this from your windows. Kelly, I'm glad I've seen it.
What? All over the city?
Yes, now when I call you up, I'll be able to imagine you much better. I'll think of you looking out of this window.
Must you? Must I? The window's behind me when I sit at the desk. It'll be sort of inconvenient turning around to suit your imagination.
All right, then I'll imagine you looking at your office. It certainly is a lovely office, darling.
Everything seems lovely to you. Say, you're not really like this all the time, are you?
What? Oh, don't worry. I'll never be saccharine sweet, I promise. But this is an especially lovely day.
Why?
Because I'm seeing you. What time is it?
You know, sometimes you even interrupt yourself, Claudia. It's 4:30. Why?
Because I'm seeing you exactly 2 hours and 30 minutes earlier than usual. Say, David, why do you want me to come downtown?
It's a nice time of year for taking a walk, don't you think?
Do you mean to tell me you asked me to come all the way downtown on a bus just to take a walk?
Well, when you take a walk, you've got to start somewhere. What's wrong with downtown?
Nothing wrong at all. It's wonderful, darling. Let's go.
Carolyn, I won't be back. Tell Mr. Killian that Kelly promises his end of the job will be finished on schedule tonight.
I made a note of it. Good night, Mr. Norton.
Good night.
Good night, Mrs. Norton.
Good night, Miss Miller. She seems awfully efficient.
Wonderful girl.
She's awfully pretty, too.
Is she?
Haven't you noticed?
Nope.
If that were true, I'd be awfully mad if I were Miss Miller.
But you aren't, so you're not. I'll look at Carolyn carefully tomorrow.
I suppose she's in love with you.
Who? What do you mean? Carolyn? Why?
If I were she, I'd fall in love with you.
Oh, I'm not her type.
Oh, what a nerve. Why aren't you her type, I'd like to know.
I don't know. She had her chance for a couple of years, but she turned me down flat.
Oh.
You got me on the rebound.
She's not so efficient.
Well, actually, she is, darling. Miss Miller is really Mrs. O'Neill. She got married 3 years ago to a young engineer.
And it didn't work, so she's Miss Miller again.
On the contrary, they've got a baby. Only we never got out of the habit of calling her Miss Miller. So she's still Miss Miller at the office.
If anybody continued to call me Miss Brown, I wouldn't like it.
All right, Mrs. Norton. What shall we do?
Well, you said a walk. It's such a lovely afternoon. Let's walk home,
Say, you know, it would be a lovely afternoon to have a car and drive up the river away and have dinner someplace.
Oh, wouldn't it?
Well, if wishes were horses...
We'd all be kings.
Beggars would ride.
Same thing.
Well, how would you like to own that car?
Which one?
That one, over there.
That big black limousine? No, let's not.
But, lady, it's a handsome piece of mechanism.
Oh, but stuffy. It wouldn't look like us. And we'd always be having to live up to his chauffeur.
All right. We won't take that one. Now, how about the one behind it?
That's more like it, but, no, not yet.
What do you mean, not yet?
It looks too married.
Well, we're fairly well married.
No, what I mean is that some sedans get to look like their owners. That one's a nice car, but it really isn't ours yet.
I didn't know that cars had such complicated personalities.
Sure they have. They're like a book. You can read them. Look, see the hand marks on the rear windows? That's children, 3 at least. And the dull paint on the fenders, that's weekends at the beach. And the scratches on the door.
That's the dog they have that begs to be taken along.
Yes.
Now, read the one behind the sedan.
That is a lovely car.
Not bad. Not bad at all.
That says all kinds of things.
Like what, for instance?
Oh, it's gay and young and very happy.
And the top folds back.
Of course it does. So the winds can blow through your hair. It's lean and low and it's quick like hearts in love. David, a car like that makes me feel absolutely poetical.
Does it look married?
Engaged or just married.
Why, just married?
Because the top that goes back wouldn't be so good with babies. They'd have sniffles all the time.
Mm-hmm. How would you like it?
I wouldn't.
But you were just going into ecstasy about it.
But I wouldn't like it for us.
Why?
Because it's my philosophy not to envy things that I can't have. We couldn't have a car like that in 1,000,000 years.
1,000,000 years is a long time. Even a little longer than you have to wait for delivery of a car these days.
David.
Look, I'll tell you what. Let's just pretend that it's ours.
All right. One pretend, and that's all.
How about going up the river for a drive, and then about an hour on the parkway, there's a little inn beside a brook.
There wouldn't be a waterfall.
Yep, I believe there is.
Wonderful. And we'd have the top down?
Yep.
And there'd be the smell of burning leaves?
One autumn leaves coming up.
Oh, let's go home. I'm very happy. I had a lovely drive.
You were too quick for me. I haven't come back yet. Claudia, do me a favor.
Yep.
My imagination isn't as good as yours. Let's just sit in it for a moment.
Are you crazy? And the man who owns it comes along, we'd have an awful time explaining we were just imagining. David, stop!
Shh. People will think we're stealing the car.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Hush up and sit down now and make yourself comfortable.
I warn you, if the owner comes along, I'm not going to make any excuses for you. I'm going to claim I've never seen you before. I'll tell him you were in the act of kidnapping me. David, don't touch anything on that dashboard. David, the engine started.
Well, what do you know? We live in an age of marvels. You just press the button.
David, you lost your mind. You're completely insane. This is stealing somebody else's car.
Come on, don't get yourself upset. We're not stealing it. We'll just drive around the block and they'll never know the difference.
Hey, mister!
Yes?
You got your lights on.
Oh, so they are. Thanks.
David, my heart stopped. Please get out before something happens. It's happened. David, they'll even send us to separate jails.
Hey, you! You know what you just did?
I do.
You went through a red light.
I did.
Are you trying to kid me?
Not at all, officer. Do you drive a car?
Yes, I drive a car. Say, I'm questioning you. You ain't questioning me.
I had started to cross the intersection before the light changed.
When I looked, mister, the light was red.
Well, if you'd have looked an instant earlier, it would have been green.
Yeah? That happened to me once in Jersey City. And the thickhead gave me a ticket.
Well, they haven't got such good cops in Jersey City.
You ain't kidding. All right, buddy, get going.
Right, buddy. Buddy, you dipsomaniac.
A kleptomaniac.
Just plain maniac. This is the most horrible nightmare I've ever had.
Well, darling, fall out of bed and wake up and read this.
It's the registration. It says Naughton, Hartley Naughton. And it's your brother's car.
Mm-hmm. Or rather, it was Hartley's car. It's ours now.
Ours?
Yes, I had a letter from Hartley this morning. I'd mentioned something about the Redbury job, and he wrote me that the car solved part of the wedding present problem until they got back from Europe sometime next month.
David, people don't give a car like this as a wedding present. Even if they're family, they don't.
Hartley did. It's just a little old last year's car he had lying idle in the garage, eating its head off in storage bills. He says it'll be a load off his mind if we'll take it.
But it's brand new.
I know. They have a town car that Julia prefers. This was just an idea with them that didn't work out.
But it's a beautiful car.
Except that you described all the things that were wrong with it from Hartley and Julia's point of view. Too gay and young. They're on the sedate side. And the wind's blowing through your hair. That wasn't Julia's dish, nor Hartley's either. Wind gives Hartley sinus.
Oh, poor Julia and Hartley. Oh, David, I'm so glad we're us. And not too proud to take leftovers.
Quite a leftover, what?
Quite. Hey, David, what's this big button?
What big button?
This one here.
Claudia, don't touch that. The button puts the top back.
Oh, that's nice, though.
Not when the car's moving. Things happen. You rip off the top or go sailing or something. Anyway, it isn't good.
It might not be good, but it's lovely.
Well, I'll be... Hey, you big slug, you don't stop in the middle of traffic to put your top down and kiss your girl.
Can you suggest a better place, buddy?
All story material used on this broadcast of Claudia was under the supervision of Rose Franken and William Brown Maloney. Some ladies just take the unexpected in their stride. For example, when unexpected company drops in, they're always Johnny on the spot with hospitality. They keep a good supply of Coca-Cola on hand, all ready to serve. Coca-Cola is always welcome, always delicious. And what's more, your dealer can supply you. Next time you shop, ask for Coca-Cola in the carton or case. Every day, Monday through Friday, Claudia comes to you transcribed with the best wishes of your friendly neighbor who bottles Coca-Cola. So listen again tomorrow at the same time. And now, this is Joe King saying au revoir, and remember, whoever you are, whatever you do, wherever you may be, when you think of refreshment, think of Coca-Cola. For ice-cold Coca-Cola makes any pause the pause that refreshes. the story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all king-size cigarettes, brings you Dragnet on both radio and television.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned a robbery detail. A jewelry salesman is slugged and robbed of $20,000 in precious stones. After months of investigation, you finally discover the man responsible for the holdup. You've got the evidence to prove him guilty. Your job, bring him in. Fatima, America's first largest-selling blended cigarette. Now, best of all king-size cigarettes.
Prove it yourself today. Compare Fatima with any other king-size cigarette. 1. Fatima's length filters the smoke 85 millimeters for your protection. 2. Fatima's length cools the smoke for your protection. 3. Fatima's length gives you those extra puffs, 21% longer than standard cigarette size. And in Fatima, you get an extra mild and soothing smoke, plus the added protection of Fatima quality.
Definitely the best quality in its class, but the same price as the cigarette you are now smoking.
Buy Fatima in the bright, sunny yellow pack. Best of all king-size cigarettes.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Thursday, July 18th. It was sultry in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of robbery detail. My partner's Ed Jacobs. The boss is Captain Didion. My name's Friday. It was 1:35 p.m. when we got back to the city hall, the interrogation room.
What's going on, Mr. Garvey?
Yes, all right. You want to call the captain, Ed? Let him know we're back?
Yeah, okay.
Thanks.
I'd still like to know what this is all about, Sergeant, dragging me down here in the middle of the day. I've got an office.
Just a minute, Mr.
Yeah, I just got back. Mm-hmm. All of them? Good. Yeah, the interrogation room, right?
The others check in yet?
Yeah, they're all back. Worked out fine.
Would you please explain what this is about, why you've brought me down here?
We think you know why.
I don't. I haven't any idea. You take me away from my store on a busy day. You put a police guard on it. You insist on bringing me down here. What's it all about? Tell me.
No, you tell us, Mr. Garvey.
Tell you about what?
The jewel robbery 9 months ago, that holdup.
What holdup? My store hasn't been
Talk
robbed.
about your friend, Thomas Ashley.
Ashley? What about him?
We think you remember it 9 months ago, parking lot back of the building down on Poise Street.
Oh, sure. Some hold-up man slugged him, stole his case of samples. I remember it now. Poor Tom, the thief made a big haul, didn't he?
Unset diamonds, $20,000 worth.
I remember it now. I don't think Tom's gotten over it yet. I was a jewelry salesman for the same company at the time, you know. Same company Tom was working for.
Yeah, we know all that.
Some of the big bosses thought Tom had a hand in it. They figured it was a put-up job. Nothing was further from the truth.
That's so.
Sure, I know Tom. He's a close friend of mine. He wouldn't be mixed up in a deal like that. Tom and I worked out of the same office for years. We've had him over the house for dinner. We've even been on vacations together. He's one of the most honest men I know.
You sure of all this, honey?
Of course I'm sure. And that isn't why you called me down here, is it? You don't think Tom had anything to do with that robbery, do you? You don't think he was in on it?
Yeah, nothing to do with it. I think you know that as well as we do.
Well, then why am I here? There's nothing I can tell you about the holdup. Only what I heard from Tom, what I read in the news.
No, you can tell us a lot more, Garvey. We didn't bring you here just past time of day.
Tom was slugged and his sample case of stones were taken. That's all I can tell you.
You're a liar, mister.
What?
You engineered the whole thing. We know it, and so do you.
Was this some kind of a joke? If it is, I think it's in
It's a long way from a joke, Garvey. You planned the job, you got the loot. We can give you chapter and verse.
I really think you're serious. You think I robbed Tom?
We're past the thinking stage, Garvey. We already told you. We know you robbed him.
Now, wait a minute. This thing is ridiculous. The whole idea is ridiculous. I don't know who gave you the so-called information on me, but it's wrong. There's nothing further from the truth.
Nobody gave us the information. We got it ourselves.
You're really serious, are you? I robbed Tom, and you can prove I did.
You're getting the idea.
I don't know what to say. It's fantastic. I robbed my best friend Tom Ashley 9 months ago. I have $20,000 worth of diamonds, and you can prove it.
Every bit of it. What about it?
I think you're out of your mind. My name's George Garvey. You sure I'm the man you want? There couldn't be a mistake?
No, there's no mistake.
This thing would be funny if I didn't think you were serious. Let me ask you just one question. Maybe that'll clear it up for you.
Yeah?
If I held up Tom Ashley, how is it he didn't recognize me?
You know better than that, Garvey.
What?
You didn't hold up Tom Ashley yourself. You had someone do it for you.
Oh, cloak and dagger, huh?
I'm afraid this is getting a little too wild for me, Sergeant. Maybe you can waste time making ridiculous charges. I can't. I'm going back to my store.
It's a weak bluff, mister. It's not going to do it.
Excuse me. Are you sure you two men haven't been drinking?
Sit down, Mr. Garvey.
I told you I'm going back to my store.
Sit down.
Look, you have no right to keep me here. These are ridiculous charges. You think I'm one of those cheap hoodlums you're used to dealing with.
No, now come off it, mister. You've got a $5,000 car and a $40,000 home. That doesn't rate you as special treatment. You're a thief, and you know it as well as we do.
I don't have to take this from you.
You haven't got much choice. We just finished 5 months' legwork proving it.
Proving what?
All right, now sit down there. You engineered that holdup. We know who you got to do it. We know how it was carried out. We know how you planned on disposing of the diamonds. We know who your fence was. We know what the split was. We know what you did with part of the money. We know how much you got left.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
What can I say? I don't even know what you're talking about.
Any way you want it, Mr. Garvey.
Maybe you'd like to tell me why I did all this.
You know it better than we do.
No, I mean it. Tell me.
You weren't making enough money at your job to suit yourself. Suit your wife either.
That's pretty good. Marilyn would get a big kick out of that.
All right, fella. We can wait it out as long as you want. We spent 9 months on this already. Another few days aren't going to make that much difference.
Just as a matter of curiosity, how'd you first start off on this tangent? Whatever gave you the idea that I had anything to do with the holdup?
When you started to spend money. New car, new office for yourself, fur coat for your wife, transferred your 2 children to that private school.
And that makes a holdup man out of me because I wanted to send my kids to a better school?
Where'd the money come from? Can you explain that?
Don't you think that's my business, Sergeant, where I get my money, what I do with it?
Not when you get it stealing.
I'm afraid you're going just a little too far. You insist I'm a thief. I'm going to insist you prove it.
All right. Have a look over here, Mr. Garvey.
Yeah?
Some of the reports on the investigation. Reams of them. They cover everything from the time of the jewel robbery up to late yesterday. It's all right there. Everything from the crime report to signed statements.
Well, how would that concern me?
3/4 of the stuff concerns you. Have a look for yourself.
I still can't get it straight in my mind. What makes you think I had anything to do with that robbery?
You know what this is, Mr. Garvey, this machine right here?
No. Some kind of recording apparatus?
That's right. It's a tape recorder.
You've been taking down this conversation, and why?
No, not this one. We've been recording every conversation that took place in your office for the last 4 months, every word.
What do you mean?
Just that, Mr. Garvey. Every time you talked on the phone, every visitor you had, it's all down on tape. 25 reels of it.
Interesting. Is that supposed to frighten me?
No, we don't care if it frightens you or not. Something else here.
Yes?
Reports on what you've been doing for the last 4 months. Daily reports, every movement you made.
That's so.
Everywhere you went, everybody you talked to, everything you did. Want to hear a sample?
This must be some kind of a joke. That's the only explanation I can think of.
May 12th, Thursday. Sergeants Bitteroff and Rafferty. Those are the 2 officers who were tailing you at the time. You checked in at your new office at 9:38 a.m. At 10:03 a.m., you had a visitor, Kenneth Tyson. You talked to him in your office. Conversations recorded. Tyson left at 10:18 a.m. At 10:32 a.m., you left your office.
If you're trying to impress me, I'm afraid it isn't working out very well.
You care for a cigarette, Dorothy?
No, thanks. I have my own.
All right.
Well, I've wasted enough time. Exactly what's the point of all this?
Pretty simple. You're responsible for a robbery. We can prove it. We're giving you the chance to make a statement.
It's nonsense.
Is it?
Of course. People following me, checking everything I do, where I spend my money, where I send my kids to school. What's it all about? It doesn't make any sense.
All right, Mr. Garvey. We've said it before. We can wait it out as long as you want.
Look, let's get this thing straight. Let's go back to the beginning and take it step by step.
That's fine.
The holdup was last fall, wasn't it? Sometime in October?
October 7th, Monday, 5:20 in the afternoon.
All right. Now, just what am I supposed to have done? None of your vague references about a new coat for my wife or where I send my kids to school. Let's have some facts.
Joe?
All right, Mr. Garvey. You went to work as a jewelry salesman for the company 10 years ago. Your friend Tom Ashley, the victim, started the same year. The 2 of you have been pretty close friends.
That's right. I told you that.
Now, we'll skip the rest of your background for now. 2 weeks before the robbery on September 24th, you had a meeting with a Kenneth Tyson. You met in a cafeteria on South Broadway. Tyson's 19 years old. Lives with an older sister. He works in a gas station on Olympic Boulevard. He's done some work on your car for you. That's how you happen to know him.
Yes, I think I remember the boy. I don't know him well, though. I don't recall the meeting either.
No, you know the boy very well. At the time of the meeting, you promised him $1,000 if he'd hold up your friend Tom Ashley.
Ridiculous.
Tyson agreed to it, and you briefed him on the plan. The following day, you gave him a gun. .32 caliber Smith & Wesson, serial number 362744.
Nonsense. Where did you get that information?
Tyson.
Well, he's lying. Believe me, if he told you that, he's lying. Is he the one who robbed Tom?
October 7th, at your direction, he was in the parking lot behind the Hunter Crosswell building. Tom actually came out to get in his car. He had his case of sample diamonds with him. Tyson held him up, slugged him, took the stones, and got away.
Of course, it's obvious. Tyson's trying to say I put him up to it. He's trying to get out of it that way.
Afraid not, Mr. Garvey. Boy couldn't have carried off the holdup by himself.
Well, of course he could. It's obvious he's trying to cover up.
There were 6 people in the company you worked for who knew that on Mondays Ashley always took the case of sample diamonds along when he made his calls. Only on Monday you were one of the people who knew that.
I suppose you've considered the other 5 people.
They were all checked out at the time. They were all cleared, you along with them.
But I'm not clear anymore, is that it? This young hoodlum Tyson, you're willing to take his word over mine?
After the robbery, he took the case of diamonds to you. That was the next day. You paid him $500 and promised him the other $500 when he got rid of the stones.
Oh, I suppose I've gotten rid of them, or do I still have them?
2 months after the holdup, he contacted a fence up in San Francisco. You drove up there and sold him some of the stones, and he broke them up and sold them. We know who he sold them to. We know what he got for them.
Well, this fence, he's supposed to be another good friend of mine?
You're still doing business with him. His name's Fred Lawrence.
It's a new one on me. I don't know any Fred Lawrence. Can't even recall the name.
Well, maybe this will help you, Mr. Garvey. Listen to him on the tape recorder. It's wheel 4, isn't it, Ed?
Yeah, I think so. All labeled there right on the back of the box.
Yeah, here we are.
Well, what's all this about?
Phone conversation, Mr. Garvey. One of the things we reported from your office. I told you about it before. Let's see. This one was on March 18th.
I always thought wiretapping was against the law, or do you pay any attention to that?
We didn't tap your telephone line. We recorded everything from dictographs we installed in your store and back in your office. They started recording the day you moved in. That was the 1st of March, wasn't it?
I don't know why you're telling me. I can sue you for that, you know. I can sue you for your last dollar.
All we're concerned with right now is Fred Lawrence. And you say you don't know him. Let's have you listen to this. This is recorded March 18th in your office. Okay? Here we go. Go.
Yeah, Marion. Mr. Lawrence? Yeah, sure. Put him on. Hi, Fred. How are you? I'm good. No, everything's fine. No heat at all. Tyson? No, he's all right. Believe me, he's a good kid. Nice. All right, where? Oh, I don't know. It might not be so good if you're sitting down here. Only 8 o'clock, 8:30. Okay, fine. Suppose 8:30 is you make it. Bye, Fred. Bye.
Mr. Garvey, you recognize that? How about it, Garvey?
I understand they can do clever things with tape recorders nowadays. There's a way of piecing words together, isn't there? They can record your voice and then fix the tape, take a simple sentence and change the words around to mean just the opposite.
You can examine the tape if you like. We didn't make a splice in it. All you'll find is the usual factory splice. It's just where it comes from the manufacturer.
Well, what difference does it make anyway? There's nothing criminal about that conversation. Nothing at all.
You told us a few minutes ago you didn't know Fred Lawrence. You never heard of him on that recording. It sounds like you know him pretty well.
Fairly common name, wouldn't you say? Must be quite a few Fred Lawrences. I didn't happen to remember the name right off.
How about Tyson?
What?
Tyson. You told us you didn't know him well at all.
I don't.
Well, it didn't sound that way on that tape, did it? You were telling Lawrence that he was all right. You said, believe me, he's a good kid. Now, what you said, now how about it, mister?
How about what? Is this some kind of a frame? What are you trying to make me say?
We're not going to make you say anything, Garvey. We work robbery detail. That's the job, robberies. They pay us to clean them up.
I can pay you.
What?
Never mind, I didn't mean that. I meant I pay my taxes. I pay your salaries. I help to, anyway. I don't know why I have to be treated like this.
No reason to make a big headache out of this for anybody, Garvey. Now, you engineered a holdup. We can prove that. We're giving you a chance to make a statement. That's all we want here.
I've got nothing to say. Make a statement about what? All you're going on is hearsay, circumstantial evidence. You can't say I planned that robbery.
Well, you admit you know Tyson. You know him well.
I don't. I admit nothing.
What about phone conversation?
It's a fake. They're phoning those things up all the time. You know it as well as I do.
You admitted you know Fred Lawrence. Prove that from the recording.
I admit nothing.
You don't even know Tyson. Is that what you want to say?
I know him, that's all. He worked on my car a couple of times. I don't know him well.
All right, sir. I'd like to play you another recording.
It's a waste of time. I haven't got the whole day to spend here. I got to get back to my store. I've got a business to operate.
Well, this won't take very long. Yeah, here we are. April 5th.
A lot of foolishness anyway. How do I know you made those recordings? You could have gotten actors. Maybe you made them up yourself. There weren't any dictographs. You make those things.
There were dictographs, Mr. Garvey. Remember, before you moved into that new suite of offices, you had them redecorated?
Yes.
There were sound technicians from our crime lab out there working side by side with the painters and the carpenters. They installed dictographs in your store and back in your offices. They bugged the entire place.
Wiretapping. I'll bring this into court. It's the last thing I do.
Look, now, we already told you, Mr. Garvey, it's not wiretapping. We didn't touch your phone lines. We didn't have to.
It's invasion of privacy. I'm going to take this into court.
Yeah, well, let's listen to this recording. Might clear up a few things.
Clear up what? What are you trying to prove?
Okay, Joe?
Yeah, it's coming in here now. Date on this is April 5th.
Yeah, Marion. Who? Tyson? Well, does he know I'm in? Yeah, okay, send him back. Yeah, good morning.
Hi, Mr. Garvey.
Ken, how are you? Come on in, sit down.
Thanks.
How you doing anyway?
Pretty good. Trying to get a hold of you last week or so. Hard to do, I didn't very much.
Pretty busy, yeah, Ken. This time of year, you know, it keeps you going.
No, I don't want to waste your time. I'd like to know how the deal's working out, though. Going back east to Albany next month, I'd like to get the rest of my money if I could.
Well, just like I told you the last time, Ken, I'm sending the stuff north. I hope to hear in a couple of days.
Yeah, I know. That's what you told me before. It was a pretty heavy job. I could use the money. I mean, if it wasn't so heavy, I wouldn't mind, but I got it coming, I think. Huh?
Of course you do, Ken. There's no question there. It's just that I haven't got it right now. Believe me, you'd have it in a minute if it was mine again.
Yeah, but that was the agreement, wasn't it? 500 before the job, 500 after, and have them last October. That's a pretty good stretch.
Now, look, Ken, I told you the truth. I just haven't got it. Now, why don't you drop back in a week or so?
How about it, Mr. Garvey? What do you say to that?
It's ridiculous, that's all. It's an obvious fake.
You can look at the tape if you like, inspect it. You can check every one of those 25 reels. We'll play every one of them for you if you want.
Fakes, and they're bad ones at that. Now, look, I'll give you both a chance. Either you book me in on a charge or else release me. You try booking me in, and I'll sue you for false arrest. I'll break you. I'll sue you blind. I can promise you that.
Yeah?
Release me, and I'll get back to work. I'll forget all about it. Now, you name it. Which one? Book me in or release me?
Oh, that's fair enough. You're going to give us a choice, huh?
You bet it's fair. You could get in a lot of hot water. Now, it's up to you. Which one?
You ran a bad bluff, mister.
What?
We're booking you in.
You are listening to Dragnet, authentic stories of your police force in action. Compare Fatima with any other king-size cigarette. 1. Fatima's length filters the smoke 85 millimeters for your protection. 2. Fatima's length cools the smoke for your protection. 3. Fatima's length gives you those extra puffs, 21% longer than standard cigarette size. And in Fatima, you get an extra mild and soothing smoke, plus the added protection of Fatima quality. To show our confidence in Fatima, we make this money-back guarantee to every king-size cigarette smoker. Buy a pack of Fatimas. Enjoy Fatima quality, extra mildness, and superbly blended tobaccos. If you're not convinced Fatima is better than the king-size cigarette you're now smoking, just return the pack and the unsmoked Fatimas before August 1st, 1952, and we'll give you your money back plus postage. Fatima, Box 37, New York 1.
Remember, each king-size Fatima gives you an extra mild and soothing smoke, plus the added protection of Fatima quality.
Switch to Fatima today. Best of all, king-size cigarettes.
Thursday, 3:55 p.m. Ed Jacobs and I continued questioning the robbery suspect, Ernest Garvey. Despite the evidence at hand, he still refused to admit any knowledge of the $20,000 jewel theft 9 months before. The questioning went on. Garvey's answers became more and more confused. We kept pressing, laying out the case against him step by step. 4 p.m., 4:30. We stayed at it.
You must have taken quite a bit of money, didn't it, Garvey? Your wife's new fur coat, new car for yourself. Where'd it come from?
Now, look, there has to be an answer. Where'd that money come from?
Simple. I borrowed it.
Where'd you borrow it?
Some from friends, some from the banks. I don't see how it concerns you.
How much money did you borrow?
Don't you think that's my business?
Wasn't it about $7,000? Is that about right?
Yeah. No, it was more. Well, what's the difference? It's my business.
You want to grab that phone, Ed? The one with the dark brown. That's it.
Got it.
Complete financial file on you, Mr. Garvey. Took us quite a few weeks getting this together. A lot of work.
You must like snooping in other people's affairs.
No, not especially. It's pretty dull. Here's a copy of your bank statement. It's photostat. It doesn't make much sense.
What do you mean?
Well, we checked your income for that month, amounted to $620.18. Your bank statement here shows you made deposits totaling $760 the same month. Now, how is that possible?
Well, for your information, I made a loan that month. That's probably some of the loan money I deposited. I quit my old job that time. I was going in business for myself. I needed the money to redecorate the new store and the office. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. The photostats of your loan papers right here. The loan was for $2,000. A month before that, February, you'd borrowed from another bank. Let's see, for $3,000. Made another one in April, too. That was for $1,500, different bank again.
That's right. Do we have to go over this line by line?
In 3 months, you made bank loans for $6,500. Besides that, in the same 3 months, you earned a total of $1,713.88. Together, that makes $8,213.88.
What's the point?
Copies of your bank statements, Garvey. You have 5 different savings accounts in 5 different banks. They show from February to April, the same 3 months, you made deposits of more than $11,000. Now, how do you explain that?
Garvey, any explanation?
It's almost 5 o'clock. Can I use the phone? I have to call my wife and let her know.
All right. We'll have to listen in on the extension. Conversation's going to be
Go
mine.
ahead. I don't care.
Okay. Dial 9 to get an outside line.
Oh,
Quarterstaff is there for you to examine, Garvey.
I see him.
You want to give us an explanation? You only had $8,200. How could you bank $11,000? It had to come from somewhere, didn't it?
Purely a personal matter, that's all. I borrowed $3,000 from a brother of mine who lives back in Minnesota.
You'd already made 3 loans. Why'd you have to borrow from your brother? You mind telling us?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I do.
Well, that still doesn't balance the books, Mr. Garvey. You earned and borrowed $8,200. You got another $3,000 from your brother, you say. That's $11,200. You banked $11,000.
Yes, that's right. You always have to repeat.
That'd leave you with $200. You and your family lived for 3 months on $200? Is that
Why not? That could easily be. A lot of people do it.
Yes, sir, but not your family.
I'm getting sick and tired of this. You're trying to tell me you know my family better than I do, what they eat, what they spend, what it takes to support them.
We've been on this thing for 9 months, Garvey. We've put in a lot of hours. We know your family pretty well. If you'd like, I'll tell you the last time you ordered steak from the meat market when you paid your gas bill, the last time your wife bought a pair of shoes.
I guess this is standard procedure for you, huh? Threatening people.
We're not threatening you, Mr. Garvey. We're giving you facts.
Here's another file here. It took us over a month to get this one together. Complete record of your expenses from February 1st. Covers February, March, April, May, June.
I hope the police department has a good lawyer, Sergeant. You've got a fair warning.
You say you and your... I'm sorry, go ahead.
I hope the police department has a good lawyer, Sergeant. You've got fair warning. I'm going to sue you for your last hour.
Now, you say you and your family lived 3 months on $200. That doesn't jive with what we've got here. Take a look if you want to. It's
lies, forgeries. It's all lies. I promise you.
Photostat of the receipt for your wife's coat, Garvey. $1,612.34. That includes the tax paid in full. Photostat of the contract for your new car. Down payment, $2,000. Liquor bill for the big party you threw in March 20th. Liquor bill, $387. Catering bill, $194. Full year's check for tuition, room, and board for your kids at the private school you sent them to, $1,864.07. Well, that's only the beginning, Garvey. Comes to a lot more than $200. Have you heard enough?
I better try to get my wife again. I have to let her know.
And you handle the extension, will you?
All right, yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Dial 9 to get outside, Garvey.
Yeah, I know. Talking. I know I'm trying to get her, stupid.
Well, wait a couple of minutes. She'll get through.
Gabbing on the phone all day long, gab on the phone and play cards. That's all she ever does.
Got some more figures here for you, Garvey. Be a good idea if you hear them. Bills for 2 more parties you threw last month. Food bills.
Why do you have to keep pushing that stuff at me? So you've been sneaking around, finding out about my personal affairs. That's supposed to be good police work, is it? This is the
You
kind
carried
of
off a robbery, Garvey. We're giving you a chance to make a statement.
Why should I? What for? Give you a statement and have you twist it around, incriminate me? I haven't had anything to do with this kid Tyson. I better try that call.
And we'll dial 9 first.
I know. You told me. What's the matter with her? Stupid. She ought to know I'm trying to get her.
What's the matter, Garvey? Don't forget dial 9.
One more with you ought to hear. I'll just play for it.
I don't want to hear it.
I'll just play for you. I think you ought to hear it.
That's the same reel there. Just fan it over there to that other part, Ed.
All right. Tyson, Mr. Garvey, same place, the office.
But you told me on the phone, you say you'd have the dope for me today. You said today, sure.
Now, wait a minute, Tyson. I didn't say that at all. I said maybe I'd have it for you. I didn't say definitely. Look, I can't give you what I haven't got.
I want the 500, Garvey. I need it. I stuck my neck out on a robbery job. I get 5 to life.
All right, Ed.
You'd be
Couldn't be any plainer. Now, what do you say?
Wait a minute. Just...
Down 9.
Yeah. Satisfied. She never could be satisfied. Always more. She always had to have something else.
How do you mean, your wife?
Playing cards, gabbing on the phone, that's all. She just kept writing me day in, day out. I wasn't making enough money. She didn't have any clothes. Kids ought to go to a better school. We ought to have a new house. On and on. I ought to go in business for myself, make money, lots of money. Same thing, all the time. Talk. There's only so much you can take.
You figured the robbery'd solve the problem, is that it?
I guess so. I would have tried anything just to shut her up, get her off my back for a while. I guess you got Tyson out, the other man, too, Fred Lawrence.
Yeah, they were picked up this afternoon. Lawrence at the airport, Tyson in a show downtown, all three, all at the same time.
What about your wife, Garvey? She know you planned this robbery?
Oh, I didn't tell her. I think she knows, though. Pretty sure she does. Maybe she'll be satisfied now. Lousy money, she had to have it. Didn't even leave me enough to pay off that kid Tyson. Private school for the children, wall-to-wall carpets in the house, new dishwasher, new coat, new car, everything. She just had to have them. You want to take me, book me in? I don't care.
All right. We'll stop off down the hall and take your statement.
Sure, I don't care.
All right, let's go.
Oh, hey, just a minute, huh?
Yeah?
It'll only take a minute. What I figured.
The story you have just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent. On November 4th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 87, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial. And now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you, George Fenneman. Friends, I make it a habit to carry 2 packs of Fatimas around with me. One's for my smoking, and the second one's for smokers I see with other king-size cigarettes. All I have to say is, here, compare Fatima. I know they're going to be sold on Fatimas the next time we meet. How about comparing Fatima yourself? You'll find Fatima's length filters the smoke 85 millimeters, cools the smoke, all for your protection. You get those extra puffs because Fatima is 21% longer than standard cigarette size. And Fatima gives you an extra mild and soothing smoke, plus the added protection of Fatima quality. Prove it today. Buy Fatima.
Ernest W. Garvey and Kenneth Tyson were tried and convicted of first-degree robbery, 1 count, and received sentences as prescribed by law. Fred Lawrence was tried and convicted of receiving stolen property, 1 count. First-degree robbery is punishable by imprisonment from 5 years to life. Receiving stolen property is punishable by a prison term of not more than 5 years. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Heard tonight were Barney Phillips, Vic Perrin, and Eddie Firestone. Script by Jim Moser. Music by Walter Schumann. Hal Gibney speaking. Fatima Cigarettes, best of all king-size cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
February 18th, hear the Gala City Service Silver Radio Jubilee on NBC.
My name's Regan. I work for Anthony J. Lyon, International Detective Bureau. They call me the Lion's Eye.
Jeff Regan, Investigator, starring Frank Graham as Regan with Frank Nelson as Anthony J. Lyon. So stand by for mystery, suspense, and adventure in tonight's story of The Two Little Sisters.
When a 6-foot, 200-pound guy turns up with a knife in his back, maybe a short 100 pounds of cool green-eyed blonde did it. And maybe she didn't. Well, this time there were two blondes, sisters. They looked alike, but they were about as much alike as a sheepdog and a cobra. Goes to show you can't tell by the package. Their names were Zemansky, Mary and Dolly Zemansky. They worked for the Everybody's Happy Pastime Carnival shows. It was old E. Happy Pastime himself who was sitting in the Lion's office when I got there about noon.
Jeffrey, my boy, glad you've come in. I'd like you to meet our new client, proprietor of the Everybody's Happy Pastime Carnival shows. No doubt you've heard of them, Jeffrey?
Sure. How are you?
Laryngitis? Yeah, our friend here is troubled with laryngitis, Jeffrey. Purely psychological. A result of worry, profound worry. Isn't that right, sir? Yes. Yes. Well, Jeffrey...
What do we do?
Now, Jeffrey, I'm glad you asked that question. To tell the truth, I envy you. Fine opportunity for you to get out of the city while I sit here sweltering in this heat. You, Jeffrey...
Get to the point.
Well, yes. Well, Jeffrey, the fact is our friend here leaves on the 2 o'clock plane for Phoenix, Arizona. Advance arrangements for the carnival.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Well, meantime, the star performer of Everybody's Happy Pastime Carnival shows, a girl named... Oh, now, where's that piece of paper? I jotted it down. Oh, here we are. Dolly Zemansky, the Queen of the Blades.
Ice skater?
Knife thrower.
Oh, I get it.
She's a knife thrower with the show, Jeffrey. Best in a line, they say.
Well, what's the trouble?
That's just it. Someone's been threatening her, a man named Rand. It's upsetting her, Jeffrey. Beginning to show in her work. That's what worries our client here.
What's Rand got on her?
Well, I don't know, Jeffrey. Our client doesn't know. Isn't that right, sir? Yes. No, but we'll retain to find out. And get rid of him. Exactly, get rid of him. Get rid of him, Jeffrey.
Like the Lion said, it was a chance to get out of the city. I drove Father Time back out to his carnival. He had to pick up his stuff and then make the 2 o'clock plane at International Airport. The carnival was set up on a couple of vacant lots out on Sepulveda. Big sign, Everybody's Happy Pastime Carnival shows. Tents, trailers, Ferris wheels, sawdust, the usual stuff. The old guy pointed out Dolly Zemansky's trailer, and I was on my own. I didn't get far. A guy in a 1922 tux, 3 days whiskers, and a turban like a second-hand bird's nest stopped me.
Oh, there. How do you do, sir?
The only legitimate thing about the Swami was his breath. That was 90 proof.
You are Regan.
What's that to you?
I am Swami Al-Kaji. Step this way, please, into my tent. I will consult the crystal. The crystal ball tells me many things.
Yeah? Like what?
Sit right here, Mr. Regan.
Thanks.
The crystal ball tells me, Mr. Regan, that you've been hired to help Dolly Zemansky. Tells me you have been hired by... by the owner of our little carnival.
How much of that did he tell you?
Yes, Mr. Regan, it was he who told me. I saw you arrive together.
What do you know about Rand?
Fred Rand, let me see. Yes, let me see. The crystal ball is cloudy. The sand of time runs through the glass, Mr. Regan.
Cut it out.
What do you mean?
You're a Swami like Truman's a Republican.
Yes, true. Yes. Well, have a drink, Mr. Regan. I see much more in this than in the crystal ball. Yes. Say when.
When?
Here you are.
Thanks.
I'm a four-finger man myself, Mr. Regan. Been my ruin.
You said you had information.
Yes, there are 2 sisters.
Zemansky?
Yes, Dolly and Mary.
Who's married?
The younger sister.
She new to the show?
A few months with us.
Her sister get her the job?
Yes, Dolly Zemansky's our star performer. Naturally, she has influence.
Okay. What about Rand?
I will consult the crystal ball.
Look, I don't get paid by the hour. What's Rand got on Dolly Zamansky?
I don't know.
No?
I see letters forming in the crystal.
Okay, play it your way.
F, Z. I can't see anymore now. Perhaps if you'd care
See you
to...
later.
Mr. Regan, Mr. Regan!
Maybe the Swami had something to sell. But if I couldn't get it for free, I could go back and buy it later. It was only a little ways to Dolly Zamansky's trailer. Big, expensive job. Everything was wide open because of the heat, so I walked in. Nobody home. Ladies' clothes lying around, theatrical makeup, grease paint stick. Picture of some round-faced guy with a crew cut signed, yours adoringly, no name. Knives and daggers around. And a frosty blonde with green eyes in the doorway watching me.
What are you doing in here?
Homework?
It's clever.
Who are you?
That's what I ought to ask you.
Oh, guess. You're Dolly Zamansky.
No, I'm her sister.
Mary Zamansky.
Yes.
I'm Jeff Regan, International Detective Bureau.
You're a detective?
That's it. You joined the carnival about 4 months ago.
5 months.
5 months. Been in show business before?
No, I was a boy back home, but I...
That him?
What?
Photo on the dressing table.
No. Sister Pine.
Pine?
He's in love with my sister.
Pine. Pine, don't I?
Harold Pine. J.J. Pine's son.
Yeah?
You know, Pine warehouses. They're all over Los Angeles.
So your sister's going to marry them?
Why, think so.
But maybe she isn't.
Mr. Regan,
Supposing you give me what you know. About 4 days ago, a guy turned up, Rand.
Yes.
Your sister scare easy?
No, Mr. Regan, that's just it. She's strong-minded. She left home when she was 15.
Go on.
Well, life can't have been easy for her, you know, show business.
Just tell it.
Well, she's independent, Mr. Regan. I've tried to tell her...
What about Rand?
Mr. Regan, I can't tell you.
Lady, I've got a job to do. What about Rand?
I don't know.
Your sister scared of him?
I...
She is or she isn't?
It's something else. She told me she didn't know him. She said he was trying to get fresh, but twice I shouldn't tell you this.
My fee says I help your sister.
All right. There's a little street 2 blocks up Sepulveda. Twice I walked by there this morning and 2 days ago. There was a green sedan parked there both times, and Fred Rand and my sister were in it. They seemed to be arguing. Mr. Regan, that's all I know.
Okay. How do I find your sister?
She performs in the main tent, but she must be just about through. She might be over there.
Okay. See you. I started for the main tent and got about halfway up the midway when he passed me, going down the midway, and into the big shiny trailer. Broad-shouldered, 6-foot guy with red hair. And when he went into the Zamansky sister's trailer, I knew he was Rand. I started for the trailer. I thought I heard voices quarreling. And then I knew something was wrong. That was Mary Zamansky screaming. I hadn't had my eye off the door of that trailer 60 seconds since I left. Nobody went in but Rand. Nobody came out. But I busted fast. I made the last 100 yards like Mel Patton on Dexedrine. But what I saw when I got inside that trailer stopped me cold. It was Mary Zamansky and Rand. But it wasn't like I figured. Mary was hanging onto the wall and staring down at the floor, sobbing. And on the floor was Rand, with a knife in his back. All right, give it to me. Give it to me fast.
No.
What happened? Come on.
No, I can't tell you. I can't.
But you've got 10 seconds before the whole carnival will be in here. What happened? Tell me what happened.
I won't talk.
All right, both of you stand back at the end of the trailer.
Who are you?
Sergeant Post, police. Hands above your heads. All right. Clear away now. Clear back, folks. You, Dolly Zamansky?
No, I'm her sister, Mary Zamansky.
Your turn, mister.
Maybe we can take our hands down?
You armed?
Yeah.
Where till I get it? Hip?
Shoulder.
Okay. Let him down.
Thanks.
Got a permit to carry this?
Sure.
Show it.
Regan, private detective, International Detective Bureau. Here's the file copy.
Look good, Regan. You kill this guy? Okay, Regan. Well, maybe you'll tell me who the guy was.
His name was Fred Rand.
That check, Regan?
What I heard.
Maybe you knew Rand, Regan.
Nope.
How'd you get in here so quick?
Heard screams.
Sure.
Oh, what's the use of all this? You both know what happened.
No, what did?
Mr. Rand came in and well, he'd been bothering Dolly. Maybe he thought I was Dolly. We look a little bit alike. And he came in
And? Go on.
He struggled. And I killed him.
It hung together like the Jap Navy. She was sore at Rand because he'd been bothering her sister, so when the big 6-foot guy came into the trailer, she grabbed him and stabbed him in the back. Sure, it could have happened like that. But from the look that came on Sergeant Post's face, I could see he'd try to make it stick. He looked like a hungry kid at a bakery window. He was seeing lieutenant stripes. Well, half an hour later, Mary went off for the ride downtown in the paddy wagon. I figured it was a funny thing Dolly Zemansky hadn't showed up. I decided to look for her. She wasn't around. She'd finished her act a little bit before the ruckus started, and it looked like nobody had seen her since. Then I saw a tent with some stars and crescent moons painted on the front, and that reminded me of something. A phony swami with information for sale. He was inside. All right, Swami, get busy on that crystal ball and dish up some answers.
Yes.
Like FZ.
Ah, yes, the letters FC. The crystal is clearly...
Oh, clear it. It's a murder rap now. FZ what?
Ah.
Rand.
Yes, Mr. D.
Fred Rand.
Mrs. Fred Zemansky Rand.
Dolly Zemansky was his wife. Now you've said something. That gave me something to work on, but halfway to my car, I remembered something else. Something Mary Zemansky had said. A green sedan parked twice in the same place. Maybe it was parked there a third time. It figured the owner wouldn't be driving it away. He was taking a free ride as a guest of the county to the morgue. It was there, green sedan, on the little street 2 blocks up Sepulveda. The door was unlocked. The registration on the steering post read Fred Rand. That figured. The address was on a street called Delancey in San Francisco. But maybe I wouldn't have to go that far. There was a card down on the floorboards. One of those commercial hotel cards. Globe Hotel, Main Street. I stuck it in my pocket. That was when a guy said,
I'm gonna kill you, Fred Rand.
I hit the car door with my shoulder. That knocked him back, but he came in again and tried for me. I blocked it.
Why, you freak.
That was when I got a good look at him. He was the guy in the picture in the Zemansky sisters' trailer. Yours adoringly, Harold Pine. I'd like to have stuck around and had a little talk with Harold Pine. Maybe knew some answers. The one answer he didn't know was who killed Fred Rand. When he made that college try on me and called me Rand, it didn't take the FBI to figure he didn't even know Rand was dead. But it looked like Pine was going to be asleep a while, so I went downtown. The Globe Hotel. Last stop on the line for the canned heat crowd. Brass spittoons. Row of cracked leather chairs along the front. 2 or 3 old guys dying in them. Nobody at the desk, so I picked up number 306 from the register and went up. The door wasn't locked. Inside, you could see why. Nothing in the joint but a brass bed. Cardboard suitcase on a chair with a couple of neckties in it. Fred Rand had been traveling white. But there was something else in the suitcase stuck in the lining. Item torn out of the Weekly Variety, the show business sheet. It said a couple of knife throwers named Duncan and Dolly had checked out of Las Vegas for work at a spot called the Blue Dolphin Casino, Los Angeles. The date line was half torn off, but you could make out the 46 at the end. There was a phone on the wall, and I tried the Blue Dolphin Casino. There was nobody home. Too early for a night spot. So I decided to let the Lion work on that one.
International Detective Bureau, Anthony J. Lyon, President speaking.
Lion, I've got something for you.
Jeffrey, I'm glad you called. I've just talked to the proprietor of the Everybody's Happy Pastime Carnival shows from Phoenix.
So we're off the job.
Well, now, Jeffrey, what can we expect? We were retained to get rid of that fellow Rand, to relieve Miss Dolly Zemansky of any undue nervous stress that might endanger the box office value of her performance.
Go on.
Now, Jeffrey, it just seems that, the sister did the job for us.
Sure she did.
Jeffrey, I don't think I understand you.
You can understand this. This job we stick on.
Jeffrey, be reasonable. The matter's in the hands of the police.
They got the wrong goose.
What's that?
I don't think she stabbed a 6-foot guy in the back. I think somebody pitched the strike out in through the window.
Dolly Zemensky?
Maybe. I think that's what her sister thinks. I think that's why she confessed.
Oh, I see what you're driving at now. We're defending the innocent again. We're not in business for money, are we, Regan? Why should we be with the world full of poor unfortunates waiting to be helped?
Cut it out.
Regan, from now on, if you want to work for charity, you work alone. You're fired.
That's the only good news I've had all day. I checked out of Rand's hotel the same way I went in. When I was crossing the street, I saw somebody coming up the other sidewalk. My high school geometry told me that if I walked fast enough, I could get opposite where my car was parked the same time she did. Okay, come on.
Let go of me.
Sister. Get in the car.
Can't do this to me.
You're Dolly Zemensky, and I'm doing it. Get in there. And stay still. I don't like you, Dolly.
How do you know my name?
You look like your sister.
Mary?
Mary.
Who are you?
Never mind.
Well, where are you taking me?
All right, up Hill Street. There's a place to park above Central. There's a nice view of the city jail.
Jail?
That's right, jail. All right, there. Like I said, there's a good view.
What's the pitch, Regan?
How'd you get that?
The Regan? It's on the steering post.
You got good eyes.
Thanks, honey.
I didn't say that way.
So you don't love me. What's the pitch?
See that building down there? It's the city jail. Do you know who's in it?
No.
It's your sister.
Mary?
Mary.
Why?
She says she killed a guy named Fred Rand.
Fred Rand?
Never heard of Fred Rand, then. Then why were you going to the Globe Hotel? You never heard of that either. Talk, will you? Okay, I will. You get the Pine warehouses on the hook. It looks good, but there's just one thing wrong. Fred Rand. You're married to him. The guy turns up. Maybe he heard about Harold Pine. He blackmails you.
Okay, he blackmails me, so what?
So you want to get rid of him. You come back from your act this afternoon with the knives in your hands. You get near the trailer. The window's open. You see Rand inside arguing with his sister. That must have been an easy pitch for the star of the show. Your sister's locked up down there on a murder rap to cover you, and you got nothing to say. Okay. I got nothing on you. Not now. But you'll talk. Later. Now get out. I got business. That gave me nothing, so I went down to the jail to try to see Mary Zemensky again. It took me an hour to find out I wasn't going to get to her. But I did find out one thing. That cop had done his job well. Mary had signed a written confession to the murder of Rand. I got in my car and bucked traffic out to Ventura Boulevard. I hit a gas station and checked the address of the Blue Dolphin. It was in Encino. That meant it was near the carnival and I could pick it up later. Everybody's happy pastime was doing peak business by the time I got there. The Midway was lit up like a sailor on shore leave. But where I went, it was dark. Out and back of the Zemansky sisters' trailer. Maybe I could pick up some proof that Dolly Zemansky pitched that night that killed Rand. I tripped over a tent rope and bumped into something. Wait a minute. Who are you?
I'm Porky.
Come on out in the light.
Yes, sir.
You're Pine.
Yes, sir, I'm Pine. Harold Pine. But they call me Porky. Porcupine. I reckon you could say it's a sort of a joke. Porcupine? It started when I was in college.
Yeah. My name's Regan, private detective.
Oh, I owe you an apology, Mr. Regan. At the car.
Skip it.
I thought you were Fred Rand.
Why were you gunning for him?
Fred Rand? Calls her Dolly.
Dolly Zemensky. You're going to marry her, aren't you?
Well,
What's on your mind?
Well, now that there's been a murder...
Go on.
I think I better tell the truth.
That's a good idea.
You asked me if I was going to marry Dolly.
What?
I am married to her. San Bernardino. Last Thursday. My father, J.J. Pine, reckons, Mr. Regan, because of the family money...
Sure. You couldn't have married Dolly Zemansky. She was married to Fred Rand.
Not for 3 years.
Huh?
They was divorced, Mr. Regan.
You know that?
Well, Dolly had the decree. How else could we have got a marriage license?
Did you see the divorce decree?
Oh, yes, sir.
When was it granted?
1946.
Month. You remember?
Yes, October.
Day?
Well, Mr. Regan, I don't see
What day?
October 14th, 1946.
October 14th, 1946. Okay.
Well, Mr. Regan, I don't understand.
Rand showed up again, huh?
Yes, sir.
So you decided to kill him?
He was molesting Dolly.
Sure.
Well, maybe I just beat him up.
You're a kid, Pine.
Maybe I am.
You're keeping bad company.
I don't think so.
Who do you think knifed Fred Rand?
I don't rightly know.
What were you looking for in back of that trailer?
Nothing. I didn't think of anything.
You know Dolly's sister, Mary?
I do.
You think she killed Fred Rand?
No.
Then who did?
I don't know.
Okay, Pine. You didn't, anyway.
Well, maybe I was just pretending I didn't know he was dead when I fought with you at his car.
No, Porky. You're not that smart.
Mr. Regan, I reckon that's so.
Next stop was the Blue Dolphin Casino. The manager wasn't there, so I waited around. Must have been almost midnight before he showed.
My bartender tells me you're looking for me.
You're the manager, I am.
You bought it. In here.
You book acts?
Used to.
You ever hear of Duncan and Dolly, night throwers?
Did they ever play us?
1946. Maybe, October?
I could look it up.
Okay.
Over here. Files, over here.
Plenty of cheesecake on the wall.
Oh, those pictures? Acts that have played us.
Yeah?
Yeah. Autograph photos. The Mandy boy, Mandy is me, we're just scared so love. Dimples Davis. Dimples. You see what I mean?
Yeah. See what you mean.
October 1946?
Could be.
No. Hey, wait a second. Last week of September. 26th through the 29th. Last week of September, 1946, Duncan and Dolly...
Let me see that. Dolly Zemansky and Harry Duncan, King and Queen of the Blades. Split week booking, September 26th to 29th, 1946.
I'm thinking King and Queen of the Blades. Wait a second. Behind this locker. Yeah, photos all over the place. I'm just remembering. We keep the leg on out where you can see it, but this stuff, you see... Yeah, like I'm remembering. The Mandy, sincerely, King and Queen of the Blades, Duncan and Dolly.
Let me see that picture.
Yeah. You recognize them?
Yeah, both of them. Dolly and Duncan.
Yeah? What'd it get you?
It gets me my answer. I made it fast back to the carnival. The midway was closed, but I could see a light on in one of the tents. I could hear voices.
That's no good, stupid. You're a shite. Oh, that's no good.
But when I walked in, the light went off.
Duncan. The light's back on.
That told me where they were. I started. Slow. I waited.
Duncan, don't. Put that knife down. Duncan, was enough, man, was enough!
All right, Duncan, I'm coming. The knife went past, took some air that belonged to me, and stuck in the tent pole. He shoved the table at me, and I shoved it back. He made a try for the tent door, and that was when I got in. Turn the lights on, Dolly. Harry Duncan, a phony swami.
It's a rat.
You should talk.
He okay?
You'll come out of it.
He killed Rand, thought I'd take the fall.
You let your sister take the fall and kept your trap shut because you were scared of what he knew.
Knew what?
Blue Dolphin Casino, end of September 1946.
How do you know that?
When you were supposed to be in Nevada divorcing Rand. You got to stay there 6 weeks, baby. You can't even leave for 1 day. Figure it out. You're perjured in the Nevada courts. Your divorce is no good. When you married Harold Pine, you weren't divorced from Rand.
Wise guy, Regan.
You don't get Pine. I'll take care of that. Your marriage to him is good. Like a $3 bill.
Thanks. Maybe I can do something for you sometime.
So the Swami killed Rand. That's what I figured wrong. If Mary didn't stick around, it had to be a toss job. Somebody had to toss that knife through the trailer window. Somebody professional. I figured you. Till I saw that photo of Duncan and Dolly. Why'd you do it?
Because he hated Rand.
He loved you.
How'd you figure that?
Guys fall in love with dames like you. I don't know why.
We were a duo. Duncan and Dolly. We were going to get married, but I ditched him for Rand.
That figures.
Rand looked good a while. Dunk went on the bottle when I married Rand. Pretty soon he got too shaky for a knife act.
Ended up like this. The phony Swami.
He said Rand had beat his time with me. He said he'd kill Rand if he got the chance. Didn't think he had the nerve.
He's coming out of it. Get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't want to talk to Dunk. So long, Regan.
Get out of here! That wrapped it up for me. The police took it from there, and after a few hours at headquarters, I headed back to my apartment. But if I figured it was that easy to get rid of the lion, I was in for a new set of figures. The lion was there, waiting, hat in hand.
Jeffrey, my boy, you've come back at last. I heard all about it. I've been waiting for you, Jeffrey.
Sure. Candle in the window.
Jeffrey, will you ever forgive me? Will you forget the unkind words I've uttered, the meaningless, petty things I've said? Oh, I rue the day I mistrusted you, Jeffrey, my boy. It was madness.
Come off it, Fatso.
But, Jeffrey, I mean it. You were right all along. Mary didn't kill that man. Mary was an innocent girl caught in the tangled web of suspicion. But you, Jeffrey, you defended her in her most trying moments. A noble thing, Jeffrey.
But I'm fired.
Fired? Oh, nonsense, my boy, nonsense. Haven't I apologized? It's just that I feel so sad about that poor child Mary and that Pine fellow without the bride he had taken to his heart. What will they ever do, Jeffrey?
Save your sympathy, Lion. They'll get along.
What? What do you mean by that?
Well, when I last saw them, they were sobbing it out on each other's shoulders.
You mean it, Jeffrey? They've discovered each other? How charming, how positively charming. And with all those millions he has, too. Millions of dollars.
Stop drooling, Fatso. There's nothing in it for you.
No, Jeffrey, I suppose not. But I can dream, can't I?
Jeff Regan, Investigator, is written by William Frug and William Fifield, directed by Sterling Tracy, and stars Frank Graham as Regan, with Frank Nelson as Anthony J. Lyon. Original music is by Dick Arant.
The story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all king-size cigarettes, brings you Dragnet on both radio and television.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to Juvenile Division. A steady supply of obscene literature is finding its way into a half a dozen high schools in your city. You get a lead on one of the sources of supply. A 17-year-old high school senior. Your job? Pick him up. Fatima, America's first largest-selling blended cigarette. Now, best of all king-size cigarettes.
Prove it yourself today. Compare Fatima with any other king-size cigarette.
1. Fatima's length filters the smoke 85 millimeters for your protection.
2. Fatima's length cools the smoke for your protection.
3. Fatima's length gives you those extra puffs, 21% longer than standard cigarette size.
And in Fatima, you get an extra mild and soothing smoke, plus the added protection of Fatima quality.
Definitely the best quality in its class, but the same price as the cigarette you're now smoking.
Buy Fatima in the bright, sunny yellow pack. Best of all king-size cigarettes.
the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Wednesday, November 8th. It was windy in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of Juvenile Division. My partner's Ed Jacobs. The boss is Captain Stein. My name's Friday. It was 11:05 a.m. when we got to the basement floor of Gorman High School. The locker room.
Which way, Steve? You want to show us which locker's yours?
You still haven't told me what this is all about.
Routine check, son.
Yeah, but why do you have to pick on me? Why do you have to see my locker?
We're not picking on you, Steve. Now, how about it? Which locker's yours?
Right here. This is mine, 318. Here's the key.
No, you open it, Steve.
Just a couple of personal things of mine, that's all.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'll open it. Well, there you are. See for yourself.
Want to take your things out of the locker, son?
You can see what's in there, can't you? My gym stuff. A couple of textbooks.
How about digging back in the corner, left-hand side there?
Where?
You know where I mean. Come on, Steve, dig them out.
Back here, you mean? These joke books?
That's right. Let's have a look, huh?
Why? Just a couple of joke books. A kid gave them to me.
Bring them out, Steve.
Okay. Just a couple of them. Kid gave them to me. There.
Looks like more than a couple.
That's what you call a joke book, Steve?
That's what the kids call them, yeah. Some of them are a little dirty. Not so bad, though.
They're filthy, Steve, and you know it. Now, where'd you get them?
I told you. Kid gave them to me.
Who? What's his name?
Oh, some kid around school. I don't remember right now.
Gave you these books for nothing?
Sure. I had a couple he wanted. We traded off. A lot of the kids have them. They trade them around.
That stack you got there, they look pretty new. Couldn't have been passed around much.
Maybe not. I don't know.
Matter of fact, they look brand new, don't they? Don't even look like they've been opened yet.
How come you're rousting me on this thing? What about the other kids? They got them, too.
They're buying them, Steve. They're not selling them.
I'm not selling them. Anybody says that's a liar.
No good, son. We talked to the fellas here at the high school. Some kids over at the junior high school, too. They all say you're the one who's selling them.
They're liars.
Both the fellas in high school and the kids down the street in junior high. They said you've been selling this stuff for months. Now, how about it?
They're lying, that's all. They don't know what they're talking about.
You've been selling these 35 cents a piece, 3 for $1. Last couple of weeks you've been peddling pictures, too, $1 a piece. You got any of them in your locker, Steve?
A couple. I got them off another kid.
What other kid? What's his name? What's his name?
Some kid. I don't remember.
It's not much of an answer, son.
What do you want from me anyway? I told you I'm not selling the books. I don't care what those other goofs say. It's my word against theirs.
Now, maybe you ought to get this straight, son. We're not out to get you. You're way down the line. We want the people at the top, the men who print this junk, the wholesalers, the big distributors.
So why ask me? I don't know anything about it. Nothing.
You don't want to cooperate, is that it?
What am I supposed to cooperate about? I'm not mixed up in anything.
We think you are, son. We know you are. Who are you selling this for? Where do you get your supply?
All you see is what's in my locker. I ain't selling. I don't have any supply. You gotta go far to prove I have.
Not very far, Steve.
What?
From about here to your home. 11:38 a.m. After picking up his supply of obscene books and photographs to be booked later as evidence, Ed and I drove the subject, Stephen Banner, to his home approximately a mile from the high school. His apprehension and our theory that he probably kept the bulk of his supply of books and pictures at or near his home was no accident. For weeks we'd known that a steady stream of pornography was being fed into a half a dozen high schools and junior high schools throughout the city. Books, photographs, pictures, and pamphlets of the worst kind. Because of embarrassment on the part of the curious teenage kids who bought the stuff, it wasn't easy to pick up a solid lead. After weeks of observation and questioning, we finally narrowed down the principal source of supply to a single teenage boy, Stephen Banner. Even then, we knew he must be only one of 100 small-time distributors working for the persons directly responsible for manufacturing this sort of thing. Our only hope was that he'd be willing and able to supply us with the names of the persons responsible. When we got to Stephen Banner's home, where he lived with his sister and brother-in-law, we searched it thoroughly, but we found nothing. Both his sister and brother-in-law were at work. We went back and started checking through the garage at the rear of the house.
Joe, back here in the corner?
Yeah.
Have a look. Steve, you want to tell us about this?
Yeah.
These books here? These pictures, case full of them?
Yeah.
Well, how about it, son? Your sister and brother-in-law know about this?
No, they don't know anything. I didn't think you'd find them.
Are you ready to tell us about it?
My sister going to have to find out?
I don't know, Steve. It's going to be pretty hard to keep it from her.
Yeah, I guess so.
Who's the contact, son? Where'd they come from?
Charlie Freiberg. Only the books, though. Pictures came from another guy. It's a long story.
Well, we got the time, son. Who is this Freiberg?
Met him downtown one Sunday, Penny Arcade on Broadway. Me and this other kid were in there, Bud Spencer. Freiberg came up, started to talk to us.
All right, go on.
He finally took a couple of these books out of his pocket, gave them to us. He wanted to know what we thought of them. Told us he had plenty of them if we knew any other kids who wanted them.
You knew you and your friend Bud were in high school?
Yeah, that's right.
What else, Steve?
Well, that's about it. He asked me and Bud if we wanted to sell for him around school.
This friend of yours, Bud Spencer, he's selling them too?
Yeah. He goes to a different school, though. Both of us did pretty good with the books. Sold real fast. The pictures are even better.
That's so. You say you didn't get the pictures from Freiberg. There was somebody else?
A man by the name of Jack. I don't know his last name. Freiberg put us onto him, gave us an introduction, set up the deal. We got the pictures for 75 cents. Most of the time they get us $1, $1.50 apiece. Bud and I did pretty good.
You know any other fellows working for this Freiberg, Steve? Any other kids in school, I mean?
No, just Bud and me. That's all I know. It wouldn't be so bad if it were just the books. That lousy Charlie. He had to go and promote the party routine, get everybody mixed up in that.
What do you mean? What's that all about?
Charlie. He stays at this place out on Sepulveda. It's a motel. That's where we always contacted him.
Yeah.
After a couple of weeks, when we got to know him, he asked me and Bud out to this place. Said he was going to throw a party. Told us to bring our girlfriends along. Turned out we were the only ones at the party. Me and Bud and the girls and Charlie Freiberg. Party lasted pretty late. I should have been smart enough to figure it out. I wasn't.
What do you mean, Steve? Figure out what?
Why'd Charlie be throwing parties just for us? The first 2 times there wasn't anything wrong. We just talked, danced with the girls, drank some beer. Charlie told us to have a good time. He threw a party every Friday night. Never broke up till after 3 o'clock.
How old are your girlfriends, yours and Bud's?
17. They're both 17. They've been around, though. No use kidding you. They weren't very smart, I can tell you that. None of us were, I guess. Next couple of parties, Charlie had whiskey there. Dumb girls drank right along with him. So did we.
Freiberg served the whiskey, didn't he?
Yeah, that's right. He loaded the drinks, kept handing the girls a lot of stuff about how he used to be a director in pictures. He had a lot of connections in Hollywood. The last party I was at, he said he was going to get the girls' screen test. A lot of malarkey like that.
Mm-hmm. What else, Steve?
I don't know. I had a beef with Charlie about it. I walked out. I haven't been back since.
Does he still throw these Friday night parties, do you know?
Maybe. I don't know. There were 3 or 4 after the last one I walked out on. Dumb girls think Charlie's just great. God, so I can't stand the guy.
How about the parties you didn't show up for, Steve? You get a rundown on them?
Well, I heard a couple of things, yeah. Sure glad I wasn't there.
How do you mean?
Dumb girls never fails. The oldest line in the world. They still go for it.
What's that?
Tell them you're going to get them in the movies.
We continued questioning the subject, 17-year-old Stephen Banner. He gave us a full description of the man who'd been selling him the books, Charles Freiberg, and also a description of the man known as Jack, the one who'd been supplying him with pictures and photographs. In addition, he gave us the addresses of the 2 men, a fair description of Freiberg's car, no license number, and the names and addresses of the 2 girls he and his friend had taken to Freiberg's parties. 1:20 p.m. Ed and I took the case of obscene books from the garage, loaded it in the back seat of our car, and Stephen Banner directed us to the high school attended by his friend Bud Spencer. We picked up the Spencer boy and drove him and Banner downtown to Georgia Street Juvenile, where we booked them in on 700B, Welfare and Institution Code, lack of supervision. We drove to the motel out on Sepulveda, but the suspect, Charles Freiberg, had moved out 5 days before, no forwarding address. It wasn't a dead end, though. From his motel registration card, we got the description and license number of his car. On the way into the office, we checked out the address of his confederate, the man known as Jack. He'd moved the same day as Freiberg, no forwarding address. Back at the office, DMV got a make on the license number for us. The car registered in Freiberg's name, 239 West 92nd Street. We went down to R&I and pulled the package on the suspect. 3:40 p.m.
Last address on was 3 years old. How's his record read?
Well, he's been in the business before. A couple of ag charges, a 311 charge, too. Possession of obscene literature.
Served 8 months in county jail. Mugshot there?
Yeah, here.
Mm-hmm. Close enough to the way the boy described him.
I'd say so. His M.O., too.
Yeah?
Same pitch the last time they got him, working the high school trade. Passed himself off as a studio man, movie director.
How about the other man, Jack? You got anything there?
No, not yet. I gave the information on him to the stats office. They're going to make a run for us. Well, I guess we better check on the kids' girlfriends, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Get their stories.
I suppose so. It sure gets me, Joe.
What's that?
Pair of young girls like that, out at motel parties till 3 a.m. drinking.
Yeah.
17-year-olds. No reason for it. No reason at all.
Well, I can think of one that might do.
Huh?
Their parents. We checked out the suspect's address furnished us by DMV and also the information from the R&I package. They went nowhere. We had a second interview with Stephen Banner and his friend Bud Spencer. We showed them Freiberg's mugshot and both of them identified it. We got out a broadcast and an APB on him. 4:12 p.m. Together with policewoman Doreen Statesel, Ed and I drove out to interview the two teenage girls involved, a Dorothy Ryan and a Laura Osborne. We stopped at the home of the Osborne girl first, but she wasn't there, and neither were her parents. An older sister told us that both the mother and father were working and that Laura was at a neighborhood school for models taking her weekly lesson. We checked at the modeling school, a converted second-floor social hall, where we finally located the girl, a tall brunette, dark eyes, fair complexion. The heavy makeup didn't do much to hide her age. While the modeling lesson went on, policewoman Statesel, Ed, and I talked to the girl off in one corner of the hall.
Your friend, Steve Banner, he took you to those parties at Mr. Freiberg's place?
Uh-huh, that's right. Very nice man. He was always nice to Dorothy and me. Dorothy Ryan, she came to the parties with Bud. He's a friend of Steve Banner's.
You have no complaint to make about this, Mr. Freiberg? He never caused you trouble of any kind?
Charlie? Well, no. I told you before that business about Steve getting mad just because Charlie told us he'd get us in the movies. Well, it was silly, that's all, plain silly. Charlie was just helping us.
How do you mean, Laura?
Well, he's in Hollywood, you know, Charlie Freiberg. He has lots of connections. He just wanted to help us get some good modeling jobs. That's why he took our pictures. There was nothing wrong.
You continued going to these Friday night parties without the two boys, is that right?
Yes, Dorothy and me. There wasn't anything wrong with it. We knew Charlie as well as they did by that time. A few bathing suit pictures, that's all. There was nothing wrong in that.
Did you ever see prints of any of those pictures, either you or Dorothy Ryan?
No, but Charlie's going to get us some. He promised he would.
You know where he is now?
No, he moved. I haven't any idea where he is.
When's the last time you saw Freiberg, miss?
About 10 days, 2 weeks ago. What's this all about, officer? You looking for Charlie?
How does he usually contact you, Laura? By phone?
Yeah, usually calls.
Has he called you lately?
Well, I don't know. Why are you looking for him? Can't you tell me?
Routine investigation, miss.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know where Charlie is. Why can't you tell me why you want him?
We want him.
Why? Can't you give me a reason?
This is one of the reasons, Laura. Would you look at this picture?
Charlie took this?
It's his business, Laura. That's the way his police record reads.
I can't believe it.
That's one reason we want Freiberg. There's lots of others. You willing to help us, Laura?
He said they'd be beautiful, glamorous. They're not.
You know where he stays now?
No, I'll find out, though.
How do you mean?
I've got a date with him. Supposed to meet him out on Wilshire and La Brea.
When's that?
8 o'clock tomorrow night.
You are listening to Dragnet, authentic stories of your police force in action. Compare Fatima with any other king-size cigarette.
1. Fatima's length filters the smoke 85 millimeters for your protection.
2. Fatima's length cools the smoke for your protection.
3. Fatima's length gives you those extra puffs, 21% longer than standard cigarette size.
And in Fatima, you get an extra mild and soothing smoke, plus the added protection of Fatima quality.
To show our confidence in Fatima, we make this money-back guarantee to every king-size cigarette smoker.
Buy a pack of Fatimas. Enjoy Fatima quality, extra mildness, and superbly blended tobaccos.
If you're not convinced Fatima is better than the king-size cigarette you're now smoking, just return the pack and the unsmoked Fatimas before August 1st, 1952, and we'll give you your money back plus postage. Fatima, Box 37, New York 1.
Remember, each king-size Fatima gives you an extra mild and soothing smoke, plus the added protection of Fatima quality.
Switch to Fatima today. Best of all, king-size cigarettes.
November 8th, Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. After our interview with 17-year-old Laura Osborne, policewoman Doreen Statesel, Ed and I drove to the home of Laura's girlfriend, Dorothy Ryan, who was also present at the motel parties given by the suspect, Charles Freiberg. Her story of what had happened was essentially the same as the one we got from the Osborne girl. That night, we met with the parents of both girls. They were well-meaning and cooperative. They admitted their mistake. It was the same old story of lack of supervision and very little home life. The parents told us that they had no idea of what had been going on or the late hours that their teenage girls had been keeping. Besides promising closer supervision of the girls, they told us they would notify us immediately if the suspect Freiberg made any attempt to contact their daughters. 6:25 p.m. We got back to the office, put in a call to Stephen Banner's home, and notified his sister and brother-in-law that the boy was being held for further interrogation. We also notified the parents of Bud Spencer. The following morning, Ed and I went across the street to the district attorney's office, presented our case, and a warrant was issued on Charles Freiberg for 702 WIC, contributing to the delinquency of a minor. At 7 o'clock that night, Ed and I staked out on a cocktail lounge near the intersection of Wilshire and La Brea, the place where the suspect had told Laura Osborne to meet him. 7:30, 7:45. We waited.
Think maybe we're in business, Joe.
What?
Down the corner there, waiting for the signal to change. Dark suit, dark hat.
Yeah, could be.
Crossing over now, heading for the bar.
All right, let's go.
No mistake.
Hey, fella, hold it up on that, will you? How's that? Police officers. Your name Freiberg?
What? No, that's not my name.
It's your identification, please?
Yes, I've got my identification. Why?
Can we see it, please?
Why? What do you want?
Your identification.
What for? I haven't done anything.
Let's go, mister. Talk about it downtown.
Now, wait a minute. Just a minute. I don't want any trouble. I'll show you. There. Driver's license. Rest of my stuff.
Charles Freiberg. It's an old address, isn't it?
Yeah. Haven't had time to change it. Just got back in town. What's the matter, anyway?
Where are you staying, Freiberg?
No place. I just got back in town. I told you that. Not staying any place yet. No connections at all.
Where's your car?
I don't have one. Haven't had one for a year. I sold it. Look, how about filling me in? What do you want with me?
You want to step over here, Freiberg, out of the way?
All right. Just like to know what's going on, that's all.
I'd like to see what you're carrying in your pockets. Take everything out, please, one pocket at a time.
What is this, a shakedown?
You can start with your coat pockets.
All right. There. Okay?
All right, now the other one.
Okay?
You said you don't have a car, Freiberg.
No, of course not. I told you that.
Well, what are you doing with that parking ticket? We walked the suspect Freiberg 2 blocks to the parking lot listed on the claim check that he had in his coat pocket. He had black hair streaked with gray, looked to be in his mid-50s. We questioned him on the way, but he'd admit nothing. We located his car in the parking lot and searched it. In the glove compartment, besides a half a dozen photographs and small books, we found a key with a metal disc attached to it. Stamped on the disc were the words West Side Studios, number 23. Freiberg refused to identify the key. He refused to admit a thing. We walked him back to our car, and together the three of us headed out for the old West Side Studios just off Jefferson Boulevard. On the way, we tried again to question the suspect, but we got nowhere. He refused to answer even the simplest questions. One look at the West Side Studios, and you knew right away the place had seen better days. It had been fairly prominent in the early days of motion picture making, but all that was left now was 2 square blocks of broken-down scenery, 1 dilapidated sound stage, and a row of weather-beaten cottages, the tar paper peeling off the roofs. We got out of the car and started up the walk. The faded sign over the main gate read West Side Studios, founded 1920. And down in one corner, admission by pass only. The guard shack at the gate was boarded up. No sign of a night watchman. We kept walking.
How come they don't keep a watchman at the gate, Freiberg? Don't they make pictures here anymore?
You bet they do. The place has been going downhill for a long time. It's coming back, though.
Then you do know the place, is that right?
Yeah, I know it. I should know it.
What do you mean by that?
Nothing.
You rent an office here, is that it? Freiberg?
Yeah, that's right. Straight down the way there, Cottage 23.
What's your job? You in some kind of movie work?
Yeah, I have been for 30 years. More than 30 years.
That's so? You an actor?
Freiberg. Haven't you ever heard the name? I'm a producer.
Oh, I see.
Why don't you tell us that to start with?
Oh, I don't know. Different reasons. I don't like to throw my weight around. I have a lot of connections in Hollywood, you know.
That's so.
In the trade 30 years. I was one of the first. You can make a lot of friends in 30 years.
Yeah, I guess so. How about those books we found in your car, those pictures? How do you explain them?
This studio will be back on its feet in a year. I'll bet $1,000 on it. This whole block here, sound stages. I got the plans for them in my desk.
That's so. You have an interest in this lot?
Not exactly. Not right now, anyway. I did have an interest, though. I will again. I was one of the original owners, you know.
Still haven't got an explanation. How about the books and pictures we found in your car?
Oh, that? Nothing to explain, is there? Just a few gimmicks I picked up.
You know a boy by the name of Stephen Banner?
Banner? No, I don't think so. Why?
How about Bud Spencer? You know him?
No. I knew a George Spencer once. Actor. That was back in the old days, though.
How about Laura Osborne, Dorothy Ryan? You know them?
No, it's pretty hard to say. You know, Sergeant, over the years in this business, especially, you meet an awful lot of people.
Well, these are fairly recent. You ought to remember them. They're just kids, 17-year-olds.
No, afraid I don't recall the names. Soundstage Bell. We got a company over there doing some shooting tonight. Television films. They make them too fast. Trade's not like it used to be. Quality, that's what we went after. Gone now. It's all gone. West Side will do it again, though. You can bet on that. We're coming back.
Look, how about leveling, Freiberg? You know why we picked you up. You know why we're out here.
Just it. I don't know why. Oh, say, look across the road. That shed over there. The old greenhouse there, colonial mansion. Weather's faded the colors a little. Typical old southern estate now, you know. We shot some beautiful footage there. Picture's a classic in its own right. Maybe you remember it. Moonlight and Magnolias. They changed the title later. Love in the Moonlight. Beautiful thing. You ever see it?
No, I don't think so.
I couldn't tell you how many beauties we turned out that year. I was a young fella then. Song and strife. Moonlight and Magnolias. Little orphan girl. Sweetheart at the campus.
That's your cottage there, Mr. Freiberg?
What's that?
Just down the way there, number 23.
Oh, yeah. Completely forgot about it. I hope you'll excuse the way it looks. I haven't been able to find good accommodations in town. I've been staying at the office. We have a little couch there. I sleep on that. We have a hot plate, too. Good enough to boil a coffee in the morning.
Mm-hmm. How come you couldn't find space in town? The hotels aren't that rushed, are they?
Well, the ones I'm used to staying at, yes. I'd just soon camp here at the studio than stay at one of those places downtown. Say, wouldn't you like to see the rest of the lot? Pretty interesting if you've never seen a real movie lot. I mean, a high-class one.
We've seen them, Mr. Freiberg. We'd like to check your office.
Oh, all right. This is it. Cottages need a good coat of paint, of course. It'll all be done pretty soon. West Side is going to come back strong. You can bet on that.
Yeah, I guess so.
Uh-oh. Watch it on that first step there. It's loose. Have to call maintenance and get that fixed.
Yeah, it's all right.
Here we are. Well, didn't you see? The office isn't very much. What is it you wanted, gentlemen?
You want to check that cabinet there, Ed? I'll take a look through these cases over here.
Okay.
This picture here on the wall. That's the cast and the production staff of my first film. Here's the other one. Me and R.Z. Bernard. He autographed the picture for me, Bernard himself. Those were the days, all right. Quality. That's what we went after in pictures, real quality. Not like today. Gone. The good days. Fine pictures. It's gone. All gone.
How about it, Freiberg? These cases of books here and these photographs.
Not my fault, believe me. I had to make a living. I had to make money. How do you think it feels to get cheap like that? I used to be young. I was big. I was talent. I made big pictures. How do you think it feels to get cheap all of a sudden? Cheap enough to do this kind of thing.
Nobody forced you. It was your choice, mister.
It wasn't my choice. You're wrong. All I want to do is make pictures. There isn't a chance anymore. Not like the old days. You need hundreds of thousands. Millions. It's gone. It's all gone. Had to eat. Had to put clothes on my back.
You admit you're responsible for this? Books, pictures, working in the high school trade, kids like Steve Banner, Bud Spencer?
After 1935, I couldn't get a job. I didn't want this. I had to do it. I'm ashamed. Who wouldn't be? I had to eat. It was the only way. I had to live.
There's honest jobs to be had. How about this man named Jack?
He was in with me. He was my cameraman back in the old days. You can't blame him either. He had to live, too.
You willing to come downtown with us? Give us a statement?
Yes, all right. Anything.
How about the parties, the two girls, Laura Osborne, Dorothy Ryan?
I took some pictures, that's all. I didn't harm them. Nothing anyway.
You had it wrong, Freiberg. You know that.
Yeah, I know. Just to have the kids there made you remember the days in your life. Best days in anybody's life.
What so?
When you used to have money. When you used to be young.
The story you have just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On January 29th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 87, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial.
And now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you, George Fenneman. Friends, won't you do this for me? Compare Fatima with any other king-size cigarette. You'll find Fatima's length filters the smoke 85 millimeters for your protection. Cools the smoke for your protection. Fatima's length gives you those extra puffs. 21% longer than standard cigarette size. And you get an extra mild and soothing smoke, plus the added protection of Fatima quality. That's why I'd like you to buy Fatima.
The suspects Charles Zeman Freiberg and his accomplice Jack L. Lavery were tried and convicted on 4 counts of contributing to the delinquency of minors. Both of them served full terms in the county jail. Contributing to the delinquency of minors is punishable by a fine of not more than $1,000 or by imprisonment in the county jail for 1 year, or by both fine and imprisonment. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Heard tonight were Barney Phillips, Virginia Gregg, and Ralph Moody. Script by Jim Moser. Music by Walter Schumann. Hal Gibney speaking.
Fatima Cigarettes. Best of all king-size cigarettes has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Now it's Counter Spy on NBC.
This one's about Pete Kelly. This one's about him.
It's
about the world he goes around in. It's about the big music and the big trouble and the big roar of the 20s. So when they ask you, you turn right around and speak up. You tell them this one's about the blues. Pete Kelly's blues.
Pete Kelly's Blues, starring Jack Webb, with story by Jim Moser, music by Dick Cathcart.
Number 417 Cherry Street is a standard speakeasy. The help is paid in cash, and the books are burned at the end of the month. Every week we use 30 cases of booze and a pound of coffee. After salaries, there's gas and lights and a payoff to the Prohibition boys. In Kansas City, the price is good. For $100, they steer in the drunks and make one rate a year. The place is run by George Lupo. He's a quiet little guy who wouldn't give you the sweat off an ice pitcher. The beer's green and the gin's as young as yesterday, and the music's loud. I'm Pete Kelly. I play cornet. We start every night about 10 o'clock, and We play till they sweep out the broken glass. We don't draw any customers. We don't chase any away. The music is straight New Orleans. It started in the front parlors of Storyville and drifted north. Some of it laid over in Chicago. That's where I got on and rode it out here with a piano player named Rosie. He's still with the band, but last night he was barely with it. We took a break about 11. Rosie was late getting back. He might as well have stayed in there because he kept looking around the room, and the way the piano sounded, you'd think he had on a catcher's mitt. All right, let's take 5, huh?
Sorry, Pete, I'm a little behind tonight.
You haven't left the station. What's the matter?
I'm nervous. Take a look around. Near the door. Back this way. Place is full of cotton.
Forget it. Have Jake open a couple of windows. Take a walk. Get yourself in shape.
Not till I find out which way to fall. These boys are here for heavy duty. I'll learn that out in the kitchen.
All right, let's duck behind the stand. Come on. All right, what about it?
You know Dutch Courtney?
I drink his beer, that's all.
Somebody shot Courtney up tonight out near Highway 40.
Well, that's too bad. He'd have drawn a good crowd downtown. Who killed him?
I don't know, but whoever he is, he's in for a big night. The police are trying for him, so is his partner.
Well, let him play. How does our place fit into it?
I couldn't guess. We'll soon find out. See the big guy who just walked in the door?
Yeah. Boss cop?
Almost. It's Eddie Newman, Dutch Courtney's partner.
Yeah, come on, we better get back in the stand.
All right, won't be long now. Hot, dry up. How's your old man? Hold on now. Here she comes.
All right, Rosie. Yeah. All right, fellas, let's hit it.
Happy New Year. Goodbye, 1921. Hello, 1922.
Yeah.
My name's Newman. Come outside.
I will do the play.
I'll hear you later. Come on. You hear about Dutch Courtney? They picked him out of the mud tonight.
It means nothing to me.
It does to me. Dutch was a friend.
Well, if it'll help, try.
I'm short on time, Kelly. Give me a rundown on Gus Trudeau.
There's nothing to say. He played for a while and he went to the boneyard.
You know him. You know his sister.
You'll have to ask Courtney about that. I haven't seen her since the old days.
You know Gus well enough to figure he didn't like Dutch Courtney. He didn't like it 1 pound.
Well, you can't blame him. Dutch sidestepped and paid Trudeau's way to jail.
Bookkeeping. I don't know anything about it.
All right, look, Newman, you're on the wrong track. Now, this is a job killing. Your boy got frisky and somebody sent down a Chicago gun. The price tag shows.
Sorry, Trudeau's my pick.
What did he hit him with, a high-powered rifle? Gus Trudeau's away up in Leavenworth.
He used to be. Gus went over the wall this morning. When he shows up, I want him.
Well, why pick me?
I ask around. He'll head for you. He's broke. He'll need train fare.
No, not if he killed Dutch Courtney. Somebody will give him a railroad. When they dragged the Blues out of the back room and moved them up front, there were 3 of the best leading the parade. They were all blowing cornets. One was Buddy Bolden, one was King Oliver, and the other was Gus Trudeau. There was a lot of music, but not much man. He picked me up on a union date on the south side of Chicago and taught me how to play. He got into me for a Boston 3-star cornet and gin for the rest of his life. When he got down to running errands for Dutch Courtney, I left for Kansas City. A couple of months later, Courtney needed a patsy, and Trudeau was it. He wound up with a 5-year stand at Leavenworth. But Gus never felt right unless he was in trouble. Only this time he cut me in for a piece, too. Well, I picked up a drink at the bar and fought my way back to the stand.
Anything wrong?
No. You finished the set?
1 more to go. Sensation.
All right, let's do it.
What's wrong, Pete?
A friend of ours killed Dutch Courtney. All right, sensation. 1, 2.
get off for a while, huh? Who'd you say killed Dutch Courtney?
Gus Trudeau.
And what, Prayer? Trudeau's in jail.
No, not since this morning.
Which one of you is Kelly?
I am.
A friend of yours in town wants to see you right away.
Who is it?
He's waiting up at your room.
Did he give a name?
Just Gus.
An hour later, I was still looking for an out. The muscle man on the side door went to the bar a little after 2 a.m. Our base man, Red, loaned me his keys, and I slipped out. I got on to 12th Street, picked up his Erskine coupe, and headed up for my room. All the way out Grand Avenue, the streetlights were spending the rest of New Year's alone. Some guys with wide brooms were pushing at the confetti, and the fog was loafing down in Washington Square. When I got to my place, I parked the car in back and headed up the stairs. The college kids down at the end of the hall had their door open. The party sounded young. I was looking for Gus when I opened the door, but he had a substitute. I knew her way back at 18th and Hall Street. She was pretty and the fastest freight in town. It must have been a long time ago, because somewhere along the line she'd run into a batch of Wednesday weekends and she wasn't pretty anymore.
Hello, Pete.
Where's your brother?
I don't know where Gus is. That's why I'm here. I knew you'd be the first one he'd come to.
Yeah. Now what about the break?
I was up to see him 2 weeks ago. He didn't say anything about it. Pete, we gotta help him.
I've been hearing that since I met him.
You're the only one who remembers, Pete. You're the only one who cares.
No, a lot of people care now. Eddie Newman wants him. The cops are looking hard.
I gotta find him before they do. You gotta help Pete.
He was supposed to meet me. That's all I know. I'll wait for him.
He needs a hand, Pete. He's in deep.
Yeah, well, he's always in deep. Now, you do what you want, Madge. I ran front for Gus too long. I'm out of the habit now.
Please.
Gus wants cover. He can look for a police station.
Gus can get away. Some money and a car, that's all he needs.
It's going to take more than that to get out. Every cop in town's working tonight.
Give him a chance, Pete. Help him.
No, thanks.
Gus has been good to you, Pete. He taught you music. He's been nothing but good to you.
I'm paid up. I bought his gin for him for 5 years.
Well, then do it for me. What I used to be worth.
Now, Madge, it's old. That was 80 years ago. I can't help Gus.
Do it for me. I haven't changed that much.
I have.
You're still the same.
You've been working at it.
You remember.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the same, Petey. It's just like the first time.
You never had a first time. How about a drink?
Will you help me, Pete? Find Gus. Get him out of town.
$10. That's as far as I go. $10.25. Now I'm getting off.
Where are you going?
Back to work. Tell Gus to take care of himself.
Hold it right there, Pete.
You stayed too long in Chicago, Madge.
I bought the gun in Kansas City. Don't go for the door.
You better give it to Gus. He may need it.
We're going to find him. You're going to help me.
All right, come on. Give me the gun, Madge.
If I shoot, it'll hurt.
Put it away, Madge. Come on, drop it.
Who is she?
We'll trade. Who are you?
Cage. I work downtown homicide. Who you got on your floor?
Madge Trudeau.
Tell me about her.
I knew her in Chicago. After that, I heard she did favors for Dutch Courtney. After that, I don't know.
She tired? What's she doing there?
Looking for Gus Trudeau.
Oh. Where is Gus?
I don't know. I've been asked that twice tonight. Now, this is the third time around. I don't know.
You probably will.
Why? Why do I have to get into this?
Because you're Gus Trudeau's friend.
Well, then let him get another one. I'm tired of the job.
I don't blame you, fella. You're going to come out of this with a lot of trouble.
For instance?
I'll make it simple. If Gus Trudeau shows and you hide him, we'll book you for aiding and abetting.
Yeah.
If he shows and you turn him over to Newman, we'll send you up as accessory to murder.
Yeah.
If he shows you turn him over to us, Newman will probably kill you.
Well, that's good. In the meantime, what do you guys do for a living?
We're busy. We couldn't prove Newman killed you. It's after 2. Get back to that club.
And leave you here?
I got work to do.
Like what?
This woman. See if I can get anything out of her.
Yeah, it's been done before, but I'll bet 10-1 in your case.
Go on back. I'll tidy up here.
All right, good night, cop. Leave the rugs. I left Cage standing in the middle of the room looking down at Madge Trudeau. He didn't watch me leave, but I figured it wouldn't be too long before he turned that gleam back on me. I went back to 417, and I ran into our piano man, Rosie, outside in the alley, using a smoke for a chaser.
Happy holidays, Petey. How's Gus?
I didn't see him.
An odd hour of the morning, Petey, but I figure the fates are hard at work shaping up a few sordid futures.
Cut the piano, huh?
You've got a very limited selection.
What do you mean?
Before the general citizenry sits down to breakfast, you may get a reward, the eternal kind.
Come on, what is it?
I've got it all figured for the two of us, Petey. Today we'll spend our time dodging destinies. We'll hit for some small back room. I'll bring the bottled goods. We'll live on gin and sauerkraut and make the walls sit up and listen. One horn, one piano. The blues, Petey. We'll ride 'em into the middle of next year.
All right, throw the bottle away. Will you just set me straight, huh?
Across the river, there's two places, the High Life Club or Fat Annie's.
You sure he's there?
That's what the word is. I'll pass the hat down at the Union Hall for both of them.
Is Gus alone over there?
Right now, but there's going to be a crowd.
What do you mean?
I told you.
Yeah.
When Eddie Newman gets back, I got to tell him.
Well, I knew it was a silly move. Newman had 100 guns on tour for Gus. Cage and the boys from headquarters were standing by for seconds. Helping Gus Trudeau was out of order, but I couldn't get one thing out of my mind. If Gus did kill Courtney, why didn't he pick up some travel money before he did it? It was backwards. If you're going to hang up your pants, you take them off first. Well, it was about 3 a.m. when I got down to the river and crossed over to the Kansas side. The High Life Club was smoked up and had a little of everything except Gus Trudeau. I looked in the kitchen and tried a back room. And then I went to the bar to see if I could drum up some talk. I had one taker, a boy with wavy black hair. He got up from a table of 3 others, walked over and sat down next to me.
Well, how are you? Come in here often?
Well, this is the first time.
Welcome. I'll buy you a drink?
Well, I'm all set. You try one yourself.
I think drinking's all right, but I hate people to drink too much. Don't you?
You work here?
Well, not regular. Sometimes I dance when the other act doesn't show up. You here alone or you waiting for someone?
I'm waiting. For a guy named Gus Trudeau.
You one of his friends?
I met. Where is he?
We left a while ago. I'm not sure where he went.
Well, you get sure. It's important.
You mentioned someone named Bessie.
All right, hold it.
What do you hear, Kelly?
Get away, Newman. Try another stool.
This'll do.
Well, if he asked you to leave, I think you should leave.
A choir boy, that's nice.
Leave him alone.
Who is he?
I never saw him before.
What does he know about Trudeau?
Nothing.
Now, don't kid me. You're not here to spend the time of day. You're here for Trudeau. You little friend. Where's Gus Trudeau?
I don't have to talk to you. I'm a guest in this place.
You're not anymore. Climb down and head for that door, both of you.
You can't make us do that. We're not gonna leave.
It's a split vote, Buster. I don't like the way he pushes.
That's right. Just walk. I'll bet you look good.
I knew right then as we walked across the floor, I knew Eddie Newman wasn't going to leave him alone. He was going to pick at him, whether he knew anything about Gus Trudeau or not. It was going to get messy, and the boy with the nice eyes was going to help. Outside it wasn't snowing anymore, but the ground was covered right down to the river. There was a moon out, and it looked all right if you like nature. We walked over toward a bunch of trees. Newman's car was parked there. It was a black touring sedan with a strong-arm guy in the back seat. There was another one sitting on the running board. He had a machine gun across his lap.
This'll do. All right, now let's hear about Gus Trudeau.
I don't know anything about him. This man and I were just talking.
Go easy, Newman. I never saw him before.
Did you always talk to strangers or Betty does?
It's none of your business.
Where's Gus Trudeau?
I wouldn't tell you. Suppose I knew, I wouldn't tell you.
Yes, you would.
You keep your hands off of me.
Stop pressing, Newman. You don't care about Trudeau now. You just don't like this guy.
Stay out, Kelly. Come here.
Hey, let go! Let go!
Stop screeching. I'll break your arm.
You keep your hands off of you. You pig, you dirty pig!
You're in trouble, fella. Shut up.
Well, he is a pig. His hands are all dirty and his teeth are dirty. I bet even his clothes are dirty, all of them.
Now lay there. All right, Dave, move in here. Back away, Kelly. You're up, choir boy.
No. Please, mister, do something. Don't let a thing like this happen.
It already has, Buster.
No, you can't.
Tell me, Newman, did you ever find out about Gus Trudeau? Newman didn't answer. He climbed into the car and they drove off. Well, I stayed there for a minute to look at the guy in the snow. His face was unmarked. I did him a favor. I rolled him over so it showed in the moonlight. I knew his mother'd want him to look real good the night Eddie Newman's chopper squad cut him down. Well, it was getting cold out, and the name Bessie had to mean Fat Annie's place up the river on the Kansas side. I made it there and found Bessie. She was back at the piano, wandering around somewhere in the middle of the blues. You couldn't miss that voice if she took up yodeling. Bessie Smith.
I've got those Kansas City blues since my man has gone away. Hi, Pete.
Bessie, what do you know?
Round the back, Pete. You go up the stairs, the loft, way up there at the top.
All right, thanks, Bessie.
All right.
I felt my way out and around back and up a couple of flights of stairs that didn't creak in time with the music. There was a door at the top, and I pushed it open. He was hunched back on a pile of hay in the corner. He sat up and blinked a couple of times. There wasn't much left, just the frame. And rattling around inside, a lot of tired echoes that wouldn't lay down and die. There was an empty gin bottle on the floor.
Petey, I knew you'd get here.
Yeah, well, they didn't make it easy.
You're looking good, Petey. Everything's 6-2 and even, huh?
You forget easy, Gus. You're in a jam. You broke jail.
Yeah, I told him all about you up there, Petey. I told him there's another Gus Trudeau blowing down to Kansas City. I'm proud of you, Pete.
Yeah, sure, Gus.
You're just like me, Pete. I told him all about you. You're the only good thing I ever done. I knew you'd come through. A car and some money, Pete, it'll do everything. It'll make it all new. Is it too much to ask? You tell me, Pete.
They want you for Dutch Courtney.
You know better, Pete. I didn't kill Dutch.
You had a reason.
Did I? Forget.
He hung a frame on you, Gus. 5 years worth, remember?
I didn't kill Dutch. Get me a drink, huh, boy?
No, not tonight.
Don't preach at me. Just something to help me over.
Oh, yeah. Now come out of the fog, Gus. You're going to get a drink or a train ticket from me. You take your pick, because it's the last time around.
Just listen to that. Bessie's still going strong, ain't she?
Yeah, and so are the cops. I got one idea for you, Gus. Get moving.
You remember Chicago, Petey? You and Madge. Chicago always liked me.
You checked out, Gus. Biderbeck's got your chair.
They'll remember me and you, Petey. I found you when you were nothing.
What are you going to do? Where are you going?
I got it all set up. It's big and brand new. A place in Mexico.
Yeah?
The guy who bunked in my cell with me, his mother runs a place down there. Be just like it used to be.
Yeah, well, you won't get there on a gin bottle.
I got it set up, boy. Car and some money. It's not much to ask. You haven't got a drink, have you?
You can drink in Mexico. Where you dreaming up the car and the dough?
It's fixed, boy. You just see this guy and tell him I'm ready. Abe Gaffney. He's got a place on Pershing Road. You know it?
Yeah, I know it. Abe's doing all this?
Just tell him I'm ready.
All right.
How's Madge, Pete?
Well, she's all right.
Come and see me, huh, Pete? It's hot in Mexico.
It gets hot here.
What's the matter, Pete? You ain't sore, are you?
No, I ain't sore. I'm just tired. I'll tell Gaffney that I'm checking out. Goodbye, Gus.
You're not getting too big for your old friends, are you, boy?
Friends are like everything else, Gus.
Yeah?
They wear out on you. Well, it wasn't any different than a dozen times before. I knew there wasn't very much left, but I wasn't looking for a second-rate ghost with an empty gin bottle. I crossed the river back to the Missouri side and headed down Main Street and then swung over toward Abe Gaffney's place on Pershing Road. It was pushing close to 5:30 a.m. The sun wasn't up yet, and the night was too tired to care. I pulled up in front of the Murad sign in front of Gaffney's. Inside, a counterman with pimples and coffee was leaning on last night's paper. A beaded curtain shut off the hallway that led back to Gaffney's room.
You want some?
Yeah, Gaffney.
Not here.
Where do I find him?
I don't.
I was supposed to meet him here.
If so?
Look, this is Gaffney's place. Where is he?
I told you.
Now listen, Junior, maybe you think you do a good imitation of Calvin Coolidge, but I want an answer. Where's Gaffney?
What's your name?
Kelly.
You could have saved an argument. This way. Through here.
When do you go to bed, Kelly?
You still looking, Newman?
I'm still asking. Where's Gus?
I don't think you give me time to answer.
There's a good reason why I let you walk away tonight.
I gave you 2 hours all by yourself on the Kansas side. I don't think you threw him away. You got a line on Gus Trudeau. I want it.
I got nothing for you.
But don't be silly, Pete. The cops get him or I do. It goes either way.
You get no help from me.
I don't want no help. I want Gus. Now, come on! Come on. I'll make you part of the wallpaper.
You better send for Dave.
I don't need him.
I think you do. Now, don't bother to get up. I'm leaving.
I don't believe it. Wasn't your turn, Kelly.
When I got up off the floor, the room was cold and the lights were out. Newman was gone, but I knew he was still in business. I knew if he didn't find Gus Trudeau this trip, he'd come back for me. I got into Red's car and followed the radiator cap back to 417. I found Rosie back at the stand having breakfast.
Did you bring an egg, Petey? I hate to drink on an empty stomach.
Newman been back here?
I haven't noticed. You look abused.
Yeah. Anybody say anything?
You were missed. You heard the news.
What's that?
They found the guy who got Dutch Courtney, a fellow by the name of Doyle, East St. Louis. Cops got the goods on him, gun, fingerprints, the works.
Yeah. Well, it's been a long night. What was his beef with Dutch?
Doyle owned East St. Louis. Dutch wouldn't believe it.
Leave it to Gus. If there's a hole, he'll fall in it.
Makes it easier on him now, doesn't it? Newman will call his boys off now?
Well, somebody better tell him in a hurry.
Did you see Gus?
Yeah, I saw him. He's trying to get out of town.
Pete Kelly?
Yeah, that's right.
Abe Gaffney, Pete.
Well, you're a hard man to find.
Newman came in the front door. I went out the back. This won't take long. Car keys, money for Gus.
No, you got the wrong guy, Abe. I quit an hour ago.
Fight it out with yourself. The car's out in the alley. It's in great jam. And tell Gus it needs gas.
Hey, wait a minute. You can take this stuff to Gus. You know where he is.
No, thanks. You take care of Gus. He's an old friend.
What's the matter with you?
I hardly knew him.
The clock over the bar was leaning on 6:15. We got back on the stand and started the last set. 80 pounds of stale cigarette smoke was holding up the ceiling and waving down on a dirty blue curtain over the dance floor. Behind the bar, one of the guys was wiping up. Two couples picked their way to the dance floor and pushed each other around a while. And they finally gave up. Oh, the whole thing. It was all out of step. Wrinkled stockings, brown gardenias, torn paper hats, and Gus Trudeau. He walked in the door and stood off to one side, just back of the stand. All right, it's the last one. Blues and B flat. That's it. Same call tonight, 10 o'clock. You can pack up.
Hey, Pete. Petey, over here. I heard you. You sound good, Pete. It's just what I told him up there. You're on your way, boy.
All right, now you heard it, Gus. I got the money for you and the car keys. I'll see you, Gus, huh?
You know what I told him? Another Gus Trudeau's blowing down in Kansas City.
Yeah.
I only got one thing to tell you, Pete. Don't forget it. Play like you talk. Don't lie.
Happy New Year, Gus.
Hi, Madge.
Hold it there, Pete. This is a family fight. Stay out.
I thought I took that gun away from you. What's the matter, Madge? What are you doing?
No, don't tell me that talk, Gus. Dutch can't hear you.
What do you mean, Madge?
You killed him. You blew your top and you killed him, just like you did everything else for me. You and the gin and that cheap brass horn of yours. You spent us all, Pete and me, and you ran through the whole bunch till you got to Dutch.
Pete, I didn't do anything.
You killed Dutch Courtney. I loved him. I loved him enough to square it.
Well, you got it all wrong, Madge.
Goodbye, Gus. I'll tell him to throw your horn in after you.
Want to read the paper, Madge? You killed the wrong brother.
Stay away, Pete.
It's in the paper, Madge. Guy by the name of Doyle. He killed Dutch.
They're not sure, are they?
Yeah, they're sure.
Oh, what'll I do?
I got 2 things for you, Madge. And the car keys. Now you see what you can do with 10 minutes start.
You didn't have anything more for Gus, did you, Pete?
No, I guess not.
Well, he made it.
Yeah, Gus finally got out of town.
Pete Kelly's Blues. Starring Jack Webb, was story by Jim Mosier, music by Dick Cathcart. Scoring by Matty Matlock. Pete Kelly's Blues is based on characters created by Richard L. Breen.
This is NBC, the national broadcast.
The story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all king-size cigarettes, brings you Dragnet on both radio and television.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to homicide detail. A 39-year-old housewife disappears suddenly. There's no explanation for it. 5 days later, evidence of possible foul play is uncovered. Your job, investigate. Fatima, America's first largest-selling blended cigarette. Now, best of all, king-size cigarettes. Prove it yourself today. Compare Fatima with any other king-size cigarette. 1. Fatima's length filters the smoke 85 millimeters for your protection.
2. Fatima's length cools the smoke for your protection.
3. Fatima's length gives you those extra puffs, 21% longer than standard cigarette size.
And in Fatima, you get an extra mild and soothing smoke, plus the added protection of Fatima quality.
Definitely the best quality in its class, but the same price as the cigarette you're now smoking.
Buy Fatima in the bright, sunny yellow pack. Best of all, king-size cigarettes.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Wednesday, September 15th. It was hot in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of homicide. My partner's Ed Jacobs. The boss is Thad Brown, chief of detectives. My name's Friday. I was on the way back from lunch, and it was 12:56 p.m. when I got to room 42. Homicide.
Hi, Joe. Waiting for you.
Hi, Ed. Al, here you got something for us, huh?
Mm-hmm. Here's the report right here. Gardener by the name of Abbott called in day before yesterday. Chester Abbott said his wife disappeared from their home out in the valley Thursday night. He says he thinks she left him.
Well, happens every day.
Not this way, it doesn't. Walsh and I went out to talk to the man yesterday. His story doesn't make too much sense.
How you mean now?
None of his wife's clothes are missing, none of her luggage. She even left her pocketbook behind, full of money. We found out from the neighbors the missing woman has a 17-year-old boy by a former marriage.
Does that mean anything?
Well, he's an only child. Mother dotes on the kid. She didn't even say goodbye to him.
Well, how'd this Chester Abbott impress you?
Pretty grouchy with Walsh and me. No cooperation.
Wants to find his wife, doesn't he?
I don't know. I'm not sure. He's no help, I can tell you that much.
Could I see that report out?
Yeah, here you are.
Thank you. Florence Trumbull Abbott, age 39.
Abbott's her second husband. First one died a little after the boy was born.
Mm-hmm. Disappeared Thursday night from the home, 546 Belasco Road, between 7 and 8 o'clock. Well, when did Abbott call in to notify you?
Monday afternoon. Told us he thought his wife might have been spending the weekend with her sister. When he found out she wasn't, he called us.
Mm-hmm. You meet the boy when you were out there?
Yeah, that's another thing.
How do you mean?
The kid came riding up on a bike when we were talking to one of the neighbors. We tried to talk to him, but the old man came out and hustled the boy into the house. Then he started showing us out.
Well, what's his trouble?
He told us it was our job to find his wife, not to go prying into his stepson's affairs.
Mm-hmm. That's a new slant.
Well, how about the woman's friends and relatives? They've been checked out yet, Al?
Walsh is on it now. Don't think he's had much luck contacting him so far. I'll tell you the truth, I don't like the looks of it.
Mrs. Abbott have any other relatives here? I mean, besides a sister and 2 aunts?
Yeah, I got the list right over here. Sure wish we had a chance to talk to that boy.
Notice anything else out of the way about Mr. Abbott, Al?
Well, I don't know. Here's that list, Joe.
Oh, thank you.
Abbott was upset, all right. I don't know, though. He didn't exactly strike me as reacting the way a normal man reacts when his wife's disappeared.
Well, how about a copy of this report? You got one to spare?
Yeah, sure. Just a minute. Yeah. Missing persons, Barghetti. That's right. This is Barghetti speaking. Who's that? Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure. About what? All right, good. 4 o'clock? Fine. All right, son. Goodbye. Well, that was the boy I was telling you about, Mr. Abbott's stepson.
What do you want?
He wants to talk to us. Sounded worried.
About his mother?
He thinks something's happened to her.
In police work, missing persons detail is not a department separate in itself. It's organized as a part of homicide division. When the possibility of homicide arises in the course of handling a case, missing persons immediately turns the matter over to homicide officers for investigation. When we got the call from the Abbott boy, we automatically took over. According to Al Barghetti, the boy said he suspected his stepfather and he didn't want him to know of any meeting between him and police officers. At 3:15, Ed and I left the office and drove to the meeting place designated by the boy, the Dairyland Fountain and Coffee Shop near the corner of Fairfax and Hollywood Boulevard. We got there at 3:50 p.m. At 8 minutes past 5, the Abbott boy still had not arrived. We waited another 15 minutes and then we left and drove out to the valley and pulled up in front of the main gate to the Abbott nursery on Belasco Road. The house itself was set well back on the property, which covered about 5 acres of ground. The entire nursery was surrounded by a 6-foot chain-link fence, and it looked like every available foot of ground inside was planted with some kind of flower or shrub. Mr. Abbott met us at the gate. He had 3 full-grown mastiffs with him. He held them on a chain.
Yes, what do you want?
Police officers, you Chester Abbott?
That's right. What do you want?
Well, if you can get those dogs quiet for a moment, we'd like to ask you some questions.
Pretty busy now. Can't you come back tomorrow?
No, it's important, Abbott. We'd like to talk to you now.
All right, if you have to. Fast, time. Get down. You two go. Quiet. I said quiet. All right. Now, what do you want?
Mind if we come inside, sir?
These watchdogs of mine are pretty vicious. We can talk here at the gate.
All right. We've been assigned to look into your wife's disappearance, Abbott. This is my partner, Sergeant Jacobs. My name's Friday.
Mm-hmm. Find out anything about my wife yet?
Nothing definite, no. Thought maybe you could help us. Mind telling us exactly what happened the night she disappeared?
What do you mean, what happened?
Well, when did you see her last? When did you first notice she was gone?
Well, we had dinner Thursday night about 7 o'clock, then I laid down for a nap. Florence went out on the front porch for some air. I woke up a little before 8 o'clock and went outside to look for her. She was gone.
No one saw her leave, Mr. Abbott?
Not that I know of. Maybe one of our neighbors. You can ask them. They seem to know everybody's business.
How about your stepson? Wasn't he home Thursday night?
Bruce? No, he went out to a show with some other kids.
When did he get back from the show, you remember?
About 10 o'clock, I think. Why?
Where's the boy now, Abbott?
Who are you looking for, my wife or stepson?
Both of them. Where is he?
Gone. I took him over to my sister in Alhambra. He'd been feeling bad since his mother disappeared. Figured the change would do him good.
Well, when did you take him over to your sister's?
This afternoon. What's that got to do with it?
I'd like to talk to him.
No, you can't. You won't allow it. The boy's too upset right now, and I can't allow it.
I'm afraid you're going to have to allow it, Abbott.
Listen, mister. You can get off this property right now if you're going to get fresh with me. No cops giving me any sass. Get down there, honey. Quiet.
Nobody's giving you sass. We want to talk to your stepson, that's all. He might be able to give us a lead on the whereabouts of your wife.
And I say you can't see the boy. You've been looking for Florence for a week, and you haven't found a thing. I'll get somebody else to look for her. It's my business anyway, nobody else's.
It's our business if anything happened to her.
What are you talking about?
You better get your coat, Abbott. I'd like to talk to you downtown.
Come through that gate, and I'll let these dogs go.
We'd hate to shoot them, mister.
Wait, what are you trying to prove anyhow? What do I have to go downtown for?
I'll tell you when we get there. Now get your coat. Chester Abbott turned, made his way up the path and into the house. A few minutes later, he came out, closed the gate behind him, and got into our car. On the way back downtown, he talked pleasantly about the weather, the nursery business, and his dogs. When we got to the office, we found out the reason for his sudden change in temperament. His lawyer was waiting for us at the door. We tried to interrogate Abbott, but the lawyer objected to just about every question we asked. It was hopeless, and we knew it, and so did the lawyer. We released Abbott, but not before we got the name and address of his sister in Alhambra, where the stepson, Bruce, was supposedly staying. After Abbott and his lawyer left, Ed and I signed out of the office and drove to Alhambra to check on the boy.
Bargetty sure had this one pegged. Real sleeper.
Yeah. I'd like to know how the stepson missed that date with us this afternoon.
The boy called us from the house. Stepfather could have overheard him.
Yeah, it's possible. Sister's house ought to be along this block, shouldn't it?
Let's see. 1408. 06, yeah, there it is. Great Cottage, 1402.
Okay, let's pull up here, huh?
Right.
Nice-looking place, well kept, huh?
Nice neighborhood. Wonder how the lot prices run out here.
I don't know. I'll get the bell.
Yes, what is it?
Police officers, ma'am. You Miss Abbott?
Yes, Helen Abbott. Why?
Well, we talked to your brother earlier today, Miss Abbott. He said he brought his stepson, Bruce, over here to stay a while. We'd like to see him if we could.
Bruce? Well, yes, he was here until about an hour and a half ago. I went to the store, and when I came back, he was gone.
You any idea where we can find him, Miss Abbott?
Well, I telephoned my brother Chester just before you came to the door. Bruce isn't there.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you mind if we came in and looked around, Miss Abbott? Won't take long.
Well, why? I told you Bruce isn't here. It's the truth. There's no reason to lie about it, is there?
Well, no, ma'am. It's not that.
Well, then what is it? No reason for me to lie to you.
How about your brother? We went in and looked the house over from one end to the other. There wasn't a trace of the boy. We drove back to the Abbott nursery and satisfied ourselves the boy wasn't there. Meantime, the home of Chester Abbott's sister in Alhambra was kept under constant surveillance. No one came or went. The next morning, when Ed and I checked in for work as usual at 8 a.m., we met with Sergeant Al Bargetty.
Well, I had half an idea there might be something wrong. What makes you so positive, though?
It's just it, Al. We're not positive. It's the whole setup, I guess. Smells bad.
How do you mean, for instance?
Well, Abbott's lawyer, for one thing. If a man's innocent, he doesn't have his lawyer sit with him and tell him not to answer any questions.
Yeah?
Number two, the kid's phone call. He didn't show up for that date. You figure.
I don't know. Could be he doesn't get along with his stepfather. Happens, you know. Maybe he's trying to get back at him for something or other.
Yeah, that could be. Why is Abbott hiding him out, then?
Pretty sure he's hiding him out?
Way things been going, no other way to take it.
Mrs. Abbott walked away from her home last Thursday night. Nobody saw her. She took nothing with her. No luggage, no clothes, no money.
That's it.
You checked with her family doctor?
Yesterday. Told us Mrs. Abbott was in perfect health. Checked her bank statements. Double-checked the name through Wanderer's file. Repeaters found. Missing persons. Couldn't find it in either one.
Her relatives, too. How you talked to them?
Some of them, yeah, Al. Got a few more to check out this morning.
Well, one thing's certain. No clothes, no money, no luggage. She couldn't have gone very far. You checked all the angles, huh?
Well, the sheriff's office, the jails, the hospitals. Sent out a teletype and an APB. She's been gone almost a week, and nobody's seen her. Now, how's that add up to you?
Well, we got an idea.
Yeah.
I hope I'm wrong.
8:45 a.m. Ed and I left the office and continued making the rounds of the missing woman's friends and relatives. We checked at the Western National Bank, where Mrs. Abbott maintained another account. Her savings statement showed a total balance of $31,564.17. Her checking account had a balance of $842.71. At the Farmers Mutual, we found the record of an insurance policy issued to Florence Trumbull Abbott. It was a 20-pay life policy covering the insured in the amount of $30,000. The beneficiary was listed as the insured's son, Bruce Trumbull Abbott, if living upon receipt of such due proof. If not, the insured's husband, Chester J. Abbott. By the time we finished checking the missing woman's financial status, we figured we had a fair suspect in the husband, Chester Abbott. From casual reports, we knew he was a frugal man, almost to the point of obsession. If he was greedy as well, if he wanted or needed money badly enough to kill, then he had all the motives necessary to murder his wife. Maybe his stepson, too. 6:40 p.m., Ed and I drove back to the office. Go ahead.
Long day. A lot of mileage.
Wonder if Al's still around. Hey, Bargetty. Al?
Yeah, here. That you, Friday?
Yeah.
How'd you do? Got anything?
A few things. Pretty fair luck.
Good. I got some more for you. Just walked in here 10 minutes ago.
Who's that?
Bruce Abbott. He's waiting in the next room.
We went into the next room and met the Abbott boy. He was small for a 17-year-old, dark-haired, thin, a little on the sickly side. He seemed nervous and upset. He told us that he wasn't able to keep the date he made with us on the phone because his stepfather did apparently overhear the conversation and drove the boy immediately to his sister's place in Alhambra. We asked the boy what made him so sure that his stepfather was responsible for his mother's disappearance.
Well, for one thing, all three of us usually go to the early show on Thursday night, Chester, Mom, and me. But last Thursday we didn't go.
Why was that, son?
Well, Chester said he wasn't feeling too good and he wanted Mom to stay home and take care of him. Then he told me to go on ahead to the show, so I did.
What time did you get home, Bruce?
About 10:15, 10 o'clock.
Did you notice anything unusual when you got home, son?
Not so much, no. Mom wasn't there. I didn't think much about it then. I thought maybe she was over to one of the neighbors.
You asked your stepfather where she was?
Uh-huh. He said he didn't know. He said he thought she was over at one of the neighbors, too.
What was your stepfather doing when you got home?
Just sitting in the living room reading the paper. I usually don't talk to him too much. I just asked him where Mom was, and he told me, and then I went back to my room and went to bed.
Did you notice anything unusual about the way he acted? Anything different about him at all?
Well, I'm not too sure. He did seem a little nervous, though. Jumpy. More than usual, I think.
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
Well, when I came through the front yard, I noticed the dogs had mud all over their paws. Red, Jaime, and George, all three of them. They must have been out in the nursery plots.
Anything unusual about that?
In a way, yeah. You see, the dogs don't go out in the plots unless Chester's with them. He doesn't want them to trample the seedlings. I noticed Chester had mud on his shoes that night, too.
And you figure your stepfather was out digging somewhere in the nursery plots that night, huh?
Yeah, that's right. Digging somewhere. He must have been. Can't figure out why, though.
How do you mean, son?
My stepfather never works at night.
You are listening to Dragnet, authentic stories of your police force in action. Compare Fatima with any other king-size cigarette.
1. Fatima's length filters the smoke 85 millimeters for your protection.
2. Fatima's length cools the smoke for your protection.
3. Fatima's length gives you those extra puffs, 21% longer than standard cigarette size.
And in Fatima, you get an extra mild and soothing smoke, plus the added protection of Fatima quality.
To show our confidence in Fatima, we make this money-back guarantee to every king-size cigarette smoker.
Buy a pack of Fatimas. Enjoy Fatima quality, extra mildness, and superbly blended tobaccos.
If you're not convinced Fatima is better than the king-size cigarette you're now smoking, just return the pack and the unsmoked Fatimas before August 1st, 1952, and we'll give you your money back plus postage. Fatima, Box 37, New York 1.
Remember, each king-size Fatima gives you an extra mild and soothing smoke, plus the added protection of Fatima quality.
Switch to Fatima today. Best of all, king-size cigarettes.
Thursday, September 16th, 7:05 p.m. We continued talking to the missing woman's 17-year-old son, Bruce Abbott. As the interview went on, it became more and more obvious that the boy and his stepfather, Chester Abbott, didn't get along at all. Apparently, the boy was jealous of him, and he was jealous of the boy. Besides his prejudice, Bruce also contradicted himself during the course of the questioning. 7:15 p.m., the interview went on.
I understand that all right, son, but you say you can't think of any reason why your father'd be out working in the nursery plots that time of night?
No, sir, I can't. I don't know how he'd get any work done. None of the plots are even lighted, only the greenhouses.
Well, is it possible he could have gotten that mud on his shoes working in one of the greenhouses?
No, sir, I don't see how. All the paths in the greenhouses are graveled. It's my job to see they're kept graveled. I know they weren't muddy because I fixed them the day before.
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you think it means, Bruce?
I don't know. I don't want to think about it. I just know he's done something. He's done something to her.
Did your father, that is your stepfather, give you any reason for keeping you away from the police officers that came to your house? I mean, the first two officers who showed up?
No, he said people were getting nosy, that's all. He said it might be better for me over at my Aunt Helen's place.
Mm-hmm. Do you think your Aunt Helen might know where your mother is?
I don't think so. We hardly ever see Aunt Helen. We don't know her well at all.
Well, do you know if your mother and stepfather argued very much, son? I mean, big arguments.
Sometimes, yeah. Mostly about me.
How do you mean?
Chester's pretty tight, you know. Doesn't like to spend money at all. He and Mom used to argue about whether I ought to get paid for the work I did around the nursery. Chester didn't want to pay me.
That's so?
Yeah, when I started working, he promised he'd pay me. I was saving up to buy a 31 Model A. After a couple of weeks, when he didn't pay me, I asked him about it. He told me I ought to be glad to work for him for nothing.
And your mother argued with him about that?
Sure, she got good and mad, too. She should have gotten mad. It was her money that bought the nursery anyway.
Well, how'd you happen to get away from your aunt's place, Bruce?
It wasn't too hard. Helen had some shopping to do, and she left me alone. She locked the door to my room. Even the screen over the window was nailed down, but I kicked it out and got away. I stayed at a friend's house last night.
You thought much about where you're going to stay tonight, son?
Well, I don't know. Sergeant Borghetti, I was talking to him. He asked me if I wanted to go out and have dinner and then stay at his house tonight. I don't know.
Sounds like a good idea to me.
I don't know. Sure nice of him to ask me.
I think it'd be a lot better for you, son. Why don't you check in the next office, see if Borghetti's ready to leave, huh?
Yeah. Okay, Sergeant. Thanks.
Sure.
You betcha.
Joe, what do you think?
It's hard to say. He might be lying. Before we signed out of the office that night, we met with Captain Lorman and outlined a plan to bring in the husband of the missing woman for questioning alone. We figured it'd serve two purposes: clarify the boy's position in the case and determine one way or another if the stepfather was withholding information about the disappearance of Mrs. Abbott. The big problem was to bring in Chester Abbott for interrogation without the knowledge of his lawyer. As we'd found out more than once, it was impossible to get anything out of Abbott with his lawyer present. We set up a plan to call at the Abbott home early in the morning, get the suspect out of bed, and bring him in before his lawyer could be notified. At 3:30 the following morning, Ed and I met at the office and started for the Abbott place. We brought along a couple of pounds of fresh horse meat to keep the dogs quiet if they raised a fuss. At 10 minutes past 4 a.m., we parked our car a few hundred feet down the road from the Abbott nursery and made our way toward the gate. I reached in and tried the latch. The dogs started up.
How about it, Joe? Open?
No, it's padlocked. We're going to have to climb the fence. Toss some of that meat over to him, will you?
Yeah, okay. There.
All right, that does it. All right, let's climb the fence.
Keep an eye on the hounds. Looks like they could take a leg off.
Yeah. Take it easy, Ed.
All right. Watch that.
Yeah. Here comes that other dog. Get some more of that meat, right?
Yeah. There you are, boy. Go get it. Go on.
All right, that's fine. Come on, let's hurry.
Have a look, Joe.
Huh?
Windows along the side of the house. Lights just went on.
Yeah, come on.
Right.
Who is it? Who's there? Who is it? I'll set the dogs on you.
Police officers, Abbott. Friday and Jacobs.
What kind of business is this? What are you doing out here this time of night?
You're under arrest, Mr. Abbott.
What are you talking about?
I think you heard me. You're under arrest.
What kind of crazy thing is this? You're going to pay for this. I'll have your job.
You want to get your coat?
You cops are asking for a pack of trouble. You know that.
Get your coat.
I'd like to know what you think you're doing. Where's my stepson, anyway? What have you done with him?
I got a better one for you, mister.
Huh?
What have you done with your wife? 4:25 a.m. Ed and I drove the suspect, Chester Abbott, back downtown to the office. He was quiet and sullen. We headed down the hall for the squad room.
Lights still burning in the office?
Yeah, probably Borghetti standing by. All right, Abbott, in there.
You're going to pay for this. You can take my word on that.
Ed, you want to take him in the office and stay with him? I'll check with Al.
Okay. All right, Abbott, inside.
Joe, you bring him in?
Yeah, he's next door. Ed's with him.
Tough. Somebody must have seen you.
No, I don't think so.
They must have.
Why? What do you mean?
Abbott's lawyer. He's sitting in the next room.
How the lawyer had been notified, we couldn't be sure. Again, we tried to question Abbott, and again, on the advice of his attorney, he refused to answer practically every question we put to him. We released him. That day, Captain Lorman assigned 2 men to stake out on the nursery and report on all of Chester Abbott's movements. A little after 7 p.m., just after nightfall, we tried again to bring the suspect in for questioning without his lawyer's knowledge. It didn't work. The men assigned to stake out on the Abbott place reported definitely that someone was tipping off the attorney whenever unknown visitors showed up at the nursery and drove off together with Mr. Abbott. There was nothing we could do about it. The following morning, Al Borghetti came up with a lead.
Had a long talk with the boy last night. Think he came up with a pretty fair lead.
How's that?
The old man's responsible. We know there's only one way we'll get a conviction.
Yeah?
Find the body and enough evidence to tie him in.
Yeah, well, where do we start looking?
In a new rose bed. It's next to one of the greenhouses in Abbott's nursery.
Boy tell you this?
Yeah, seems to make sense. We know old man Abbott's crazy about saving $1. We found that out from the neighbors and the relatives.
Mm-hmm.
On the nursery trade, especially in the limited area Abbott has to work in, you cultivate every foot of ground you have. You plant every foot of soil with something.
Well, yeah, what's the point?
Well, Abbott's not the type to waste anything. He wouldn't let ground lie fallow when he could plant something that might bring in a few dollars next spring.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce tells me his stepfather has every inch of the property planted with something. Everything except a 6x8 plot of ground in that rose garden.
Well, what did the boy say? The plot been vacant for long?
Well, he says his stepfather got it ready for planting a week and a half ago. It's still vacant.
Be worth checking out. How do we do it?
We can order up a crew from the crime lab. They can take probings through the plot, all around it. They ought to be able to tell us how deep the ground's been worked over lately.
Okay. What do you figure, tonight?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Maybe 11, 12 o'clock.
What about old man Abbott? You think he's going to sit still for it?
If the hunch pays off, he's going to sit still a long time.
was 10 minutes past 11 that night when we got to the Abbott nursery. Lee Jones and the crime lab crew, Al Bargetti, Ed, and 2 other men from homicide. The men on stakeout told us Chester Abbott, along with his attorney, had left the house a half hour before in his car, a dark blue coupe. They hadn't returned. Ed brought along another supply of fresh horse meat for the dogs, so we didn't have any trouble there. We located the vacant plot of ground in the rose bed next to one of the greenhouses, as Bruce Abbott had described it to Bargetti. The crime lab crew started probing. The ground obviously had been worked over recently, and to some depth. They started digging.
Anderson, get that light over here, will you? Thanks. Joe, see anything?
No. Let's keep digging.
It's right over here, huh?
Yeah. You know, this is it. He wasn't taking any chances. Down a good 4 or 5 feet now, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, at least that. Anderson, more light, huh?
All right, let's go at it. All right, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Woman's shoe here. Come on.
Just a minute.
Yeah, that's it. The shoulder there. It's a body. Well, it paid off, Al. The boy had it figured.
Yeah. Too bad he was right.
Ed and I went back to our car and notified communications to broadcast a warrant for murder on Chester Abbott. His description, together with a description of his car and license number, was rebroadcast every 15 minutes. The attorney was contacted, and he stated that Mr. Abbott had dropped him off at his home more than an hour before. He knew nothing of his whereabouts. Ed and I went back to check the Abbott home and found the front door unlocked. We went inside and looked around. In one bedroom, we found clothes scattered over the bed and on the floor. There was only one old suit left in one closet. On the table next to the bed, we found an airline's timetable. We got to the phone and notified communications to alert all special details at railroad stations, bus terminals, and airports, and then to get out an APB. After that, we checked with the airlines. One of them told us a man answering Abbott's description had booked passage to Mexico City that night under the name of Charles Frazier. The plane was scheduled to leave at 1:52 a.m. at the Burbank Airport. We called the detail at the airport and alerted them. Then we drove over to the field to follow through on it. It was 1:32 a.m. when Ed and I took up our positions just inside Gate 3, where passengers were boarding Flight 72 for Mexico City. There was no sign of the suspect either on the plane or in the waiting room.
Think he'll show?
I don't know.
Want your bag over here?
Where's Bargetti?
Over there by the cocktail lounge. See him?
Oh, yeah. What time you got now?
1:38.
Plane's due to take off in another 4 minutes, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Any sign of him, Al?
No, nothing. Just made the rounds. Checked with Stevens and Cummings. If he got in, he came in somebody's suitcase. Couldn't have possibly gotten through without one of us seeing it.
Well, he hasn't got much more time. Maybe it's a dead end, huh?
You don't see how he could have gotten wise, do you?
Over there. No, by the ticket counter there. You see him?
Yeah, that's him. Come on. All right, just a minute, Abbott.
I haven't got time now. I'll miss my plane. If you have anything more to say to me, if you wait till I get back.
Right now, Abbott.
And take it up with my lawyer. I'm in a hurry.
We found your wife's body.
How's that?
In the rose bed next to the greenhouse.
I don't know what you mean. You must be mistaken.
No mistake. Hands behind your back.
What's this all about? I haven't done anything.
All right, let's go.
No, just a minute. You got it wrong. I don't know anything about it.
We think you do. Now, come on.
Wasn't my fault. I didn't know what I was doing. I plead insanity. She drove me to it. We were arguing about the boy, and she slapped me. I didn't mean to do it.
All right, let's go, Abbott.
Can you wait just a minute more?
What for?
My plane. One from Mexico City. Funny, isn't it?
What's that?
I was so close. Just missed it. Not by more than 1 minute.
No, you're wrong about that, Abbott.
Just 1 minute, that's all.
Now, you missed it before you ever bought your ticket.
How do you figure?
When you first decided to kill your wife. Come on.
The story you have just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On December 19th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 89, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial.
Now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you, George Fenneman. Friends, I'm holding 2 sets of fingerprint cards. Now, on one, prints found at the scene of a crime. On the second, a suspect's taken from the files. Now, the only way in the world you can tell they're made by the same suspect is by comparison. If you'll compare Fatima with any other king-size cigarette, you'll find Fatima's length filters the smoke 85 millimeters for your protection. Fatima's length cools the smoke for your protection. Fatima's length gives you those extra puffs, 21% longer than standard cigarette size. And you get an extra mild and soothing smoke, plus the added protection of Fatima quality. Prove it today. Buy Fatima.
Chester Vernon Abbott was tried and convicted of murder in the first degree. The jury failed to recommend clemency. Abbott was executed in the lethal gas chamber at the State Penitentiary, San Quentin, California. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Technical advisors Captain Jack Donahoe, Sergeant Marty Wynn, and Sergeant Vance Brasher. Heard tonight were Barney Phillips and Herb Ellis. Script by Jim Moser. Music by Walter Schumann. Hal Gibney speaking.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all king-size cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles. Now it's Counter Spy on NBC. The story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all king-size cigarettes, brings you Dragnet on both radio and television.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to Personnel Division. A resident of your city files a report of assault and battery. His shoulder is dislocated. He's been badly beaten. He claims his assailant was a young police officer. Your job? Investigate.
Comparison proves Fatima quality.
Yes, comparison proves Fatima quality.
Compare Fatima with any other king-size cigarette.
1. Fatima's length filters the smoke 85 millimeters for your protection.
2. Fatima's length cools the smoke for your protection.
3. Fatima's length gives you those extra puffs, 21% longer than standard cigarette size.
And you get an extra mild and soothing smoke, plus the added protection of Fatima quality.
Definitely the best quality in its class, but the same price as the cigarette you are now smoking.
Prove Fatima quality yourself today. Buy Fatima in the bright, sunny yellow pack. Best of all king-size cigarettes.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Tuesday, June 11th. It was mild in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of BIA. My partner's Ed Jacobs. The boss is Lieutenant Jesse. My name's Friday. It was 10:23 a.m. when I got to room 83, the squad room.
Joe, you catch up with the lieutenant?
Yeah, in a meeting. Said he'd be out about 11:30. He wants us to handle it for the time being.
Oh. Well, Joe, this is Officer Blanchard. This is my partner, Joe Friday.
I'm glad to know you, Friday. I think I've seen you around Central a couple of times.
Yeah, sure. How are you?
Well, what's this thing all about? Do you mind telling me?
You worked yesterday, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right. My regular beat, South Central area.
Anything out of the ordinary happen while you were on duty?
No, not much. Made a couple of pinches, that's about all. Pretty quiet otherwise.
Did you make one of those arrests at 7928 Cortlandt Avenue?
Yeah, that's right. A woman, 2 men, users. All 3 of them were booked in violation State Narcotics Act.
Any of the 3 familiar to you at all, Blanchard? I mean, had you ever seen them before the time you arrested them?
No, none of them. I knew the place, though. I've been keeping an eye on it lately. One of those old-fashioned homes converted into a rooming house. I've been noticing some of the people going in and out of the place. They didn't look too good to me. That's why I say I've been keeping an eye on the house. Now, what's the story on this, anyway? You get a kickback on the arrest I made?
Well, we'd like to have your version of it first, Blanchard. Exactly what happened. How'd you come to make the pinch?
Well, I was walking my regular beat. I think it was about 3:30 yesterday afternoon. I was going along Cortland, the 7900 block. A woman came out of the front door and hailed me. She complained about a 507 party in the house a couple doors down the street.
That was at number 7928, the boarding house?
Yeah. I checked it out. The party was going on up on the 3rd floor. I went up, found the girl and the 2 men in the room facing on the street. The girl was fixing a pop for herself when I came in. 2 caps of heroin on the table in front of her.
Mm-hmm. What'd you do then?
I made a grab for the 2 caps. One of the guys beat me to it. He got him, ran to the next room, and tried to flush him down the drain. He didn't quite make it, though. I got one of the caps before he could get rid of it.
What'd you do then, Blanchard?
Well, I sat the 3 of them down, called into the office. I checked the room over while we were waiting, found 2 more caps of heroin, usual equipment to go with it. When the radio car showed up, the 3 of them were taken downtown to narcotics squad and booked. That's all I can tell you about it.
Well, during the time you were waiting there in the room, Blanchard, did you have any trouble with the suspects at all?
Well, I got a lot of talk from one of the men, a fellow by the name of Evans. He's supposed to run the boarding house. Claims he didn't have anything to do with it. He didn't know the girl was a hype. You know, the usual stuff.
That was the extent of it? Just talk?
Sure, that's all. Why?
Well, that's not the story, according to Evans. He had his lawyer bail him out last night. He was in to file charges against you.
Huh? What do you mean?
Assault and battery. He claims that you worked him over for no reason at all. He says you beat him up and dislocated his shoulder.
Oh, he's crazy. He's lying. I didn't work him over.
Well, he says he's got witnesses to prove it, Blanchard. The 2 people who were with him, the woman, the other man. He says they'll swear that's what you did.
Yeah, but it's not true. They're trying to cook up a frame. I didn't touch any of them.
Well, this Evans looked like he's been mussed up. Cuts and bruises all over his face. His shoulders fairly recent, too.
Yeah, I know that, but I didn't do it. He was in the same shape when I found him up in that room yesterday. Matter of fact, I asked him about it. He wouldn't tell me. It's the truth, Sergeant, so help me. All 3 of them are lying. I didn't beat them up.
Well, it's your word against theirs, Blanchard. The facts seem to favor Evans.
I don't get this at all. 2 of those people are known hypes. They'd swear anything for a free cap. You know that. What good is their word?
Maybe no good at all. It's not up to us to decide. Evans filed a complaint. It's our job to follow through.
Now, you're sure about the shape Evans was in when you found him up in that room yesterday, Blanchard? He was already marked up, is that right?
I'm sure he was. I told you. I asked him about it. He wouldn't answer me.
But you had no way of proving that you couldn't possibly have been responsible for it.
Well, it's up to him, isn't it, Evans? If he says I worked him over, let him prove it.
I'm afraid he's got the jump there. 2 witnesses.
Yeah, but they're lying. You must know that. They're lying.
Well, now, look, you can see the position it puts us in. If you're innocent, we're going to do all we can. If you're guilty, we'll see that you get everything that's coming to you.
Well, you know it as well as I do, Sergeant. I had no reason to beat him up. I didn't do it.
Well, it's not up to us, Blanchard. The court will have to decide.
Doesn't make sense. None of it does.
There's no other way to handle it. We got 4,500 men in the department. We don't claim they're all saints. Once in a while, one of them turns bad, and all of us get a black eye. You're in a jam, Blanchard. Like anyone else, you'll get a fair trial.
Yeah. Well, what happens now? Do I draw suspension?
Yeah, that's right. If you're cleared of the charges in court, there'll be a hearing before the Board of Rights.
Am I through right now?
We'll have to book you in at the main jail. Case will be presented at the DA's office tomorrow.
Doesn't make sense. I had no reason to beat up Evans. No reason at all.
You sure of that, are you?
What do you mean? Of course I'm sure.
Well, Evans claims you did have a reason, a good one.
What?
Well, he says you handed him a proposition. He wouldn't go for it, so you worked him over.
What do you mean? What kind of a proposition?
A bad kind.
Huh?
He says you wanted a payoff. Investigating charges against a police officer involves exactly the same procedure as cases where private citizens are concerned. Prove the suspect innocent or guilty. If Blanchard was innocent, it wasn't going to be an easy job proving it. If he hadn't beat up the complainant, George Evans, and dislocated his shoulder, it seemed the only way out would be to find the man who did. Either that or prove that the 2 witnesses Evans had come up with were lying. If Blanchard was guilty, if he actually had slugged and beaten Evans, we had to find sufficient evidence and we had to find a motive. 11:10 a.m., Ed and I took Officer Harry Blanchard over to the main jail where he was booked in and lodged in one of the cell blocks. Then we went upstairs to the women's jail where we interviewed one of the witnesses to the alleged beating, an Eleanor Rowland. She'd had previous arrests for vagrancy, grand theft auto, and petty theft, as well as an established reputation as a user of narcotics. She was 23 years old.
Yeah, it was terrible. That cop really roughed him up, poor old Evans. Cop didn't have to treat him like that.
How long have you known George Evans, Miss Rowland? You old friends?
No, I wouldn't say that. I met him a couple weeks ago when I came down from north.
San Francisco?
Portland. I was visiting up there. I'm a Portland girl originally.
Well, how about this other man you were with at the time Officer Blanchard picked you up, this Ray Sherman? He an old friend?
Buster, yeah, I've known him a few years.
Does he know Evans very well?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Ray's had a room at the boarding house a couple of years. I guess he's good friends with Evans. Say, can I ask you something?
Yes, ma'am.
You ever work narcotics up in Portland?
No, ma'am, never have.
Face is familiar. Could have sworn I mentioned Portland.
Do you want to run over that story again for us, Miss Rowland, about what happened yesterday?
Not much to say, just same as I told you.
You usually stay at Evans' rooming house when you're in town, do you?
No, that's only the second time I was there.
How about George Evans? Was he there at the time?
No, not first. Me and Buster had a pop, and then we sat around and talked. Evans came in a little later. 3 of us talked. Told me and Buster not to bring any more junk in the house. He didn't want to get into trouble. Then, speak of the devil, a cop walked in.
What happened then?
Buster grabbed 2 caps off the table, tried to get rid of them. He only got rid of one, though. The cop got the other one.
Well, how'd the argument start? Do you remember that? Between Evans and the officer, I mean.
Well, I was a little high at the time. I don't remember it word for word. Evans said he didn't have anything to do with it, but the cop kept pressing him. He told Evans he'd forget about it if Evans would pay him off. Evans told him no, he wouldn't give him a cent, and then the cop started beating him up.
You were in the same room with him all this time?
Yeah, Buster and me. We saw it all. Poor old Evans. He really got worked over. Cop didn't have to treat him like that. Say, are you sure you're not from Portland?
Yes, ma'am, I'm sure. Now, about how many times would you say the officer hit Evans?
Oh, I couldn't tell you that exactly. Dozens of times, I guess. Kept hitting him with his fists, pushed him all around the room. I was a little high at the time. I don't remember everything exactly. Sure could use a booster about now.
Are you sure about everything you've told us, Miss Rowland? That's the truth?
Yeah, that's right. Some of the details I didn't remember so well. He straightened it out for me, though. He told me just what happened.
Who's that?
George Evans.
11:50 a.m. Ed and I continued questioning Eleanor Rowland. The more we talked to her, the more we were convinced that at the time of the alleged beating, she was under a heavy dose of narcotics, and that for the most part, she picked up her version of the story from the alleged victim, George Evans. We went down to the second floor of the main jail to one of the interview rooms where we talked to the second witness, Ray Sherman, alias Tom Raymond, alias Buster Raymond. He also had a long record as a user of narcotics. He gave the same general version of the incident as the Rowland girl did, but despite the girl's story, he claimed he was not under the influence of narcotics at the time Officer Blanchard entered the room and made the arrest. Besides that, there were other discrepancies. 1:05 p.m., we had some lunch at the Federal Cafe, and then we drove out to interview the complainant in the case, George Evans. After checking at his rooming house, we finally located him in a neighborhood bowling alley. He was sitting at a bar adjoining the actual playing area, drinking a bottle of beer. Parts of his face and neck were bandaged, and his left shoulder was in a cast. He appeared friendly and cooperative.
I kept telling the cop I didn't have any money, told him I wouldn't give him a payoff even if I did.
So he started working you over, that right, Evans?
Yes, that's right. I don't have anything against cops normally, but this guy, that's something else. How do you ever get on the force anyway?
Had you ever had any contact with Officer Blanchard before yesterday, Evans?
Yes, I did, twice before. He came to the house, accused me of running a hideout for thieves, junkies. Tried to get me to pay him off then, too. I wouldn't do it.
That's, when was that, Evans?
About 6-8 months ago. Yeah, at least that.
Well, how was it you didn't report Blanchard then?
Well, I wouldn't cause any trouble, get mixed up in a law case. I figured I could take care of him myself. But after that going over yesterday, that was enough for me. I don't understand how the guy ever made the force to begin with.
What's the matter?
The shoulder of mine, he really tore it apart.
How'd you spend your time yesterday, Evan? Do you mind telling us?
No, I don't mind. I slept till about 12:30, 1 o'clock. Had a little bit of a hangover. Then I got up, made some breakfast, and read the paper. That's about size.
You mean you were in your room all day after the time you went down the hall to Ray Sherman's room?
That's right. Ray was there with this girlfriend of his, Eleanor. I didn't know she was a hype. That's the truth. Ray should have known better having her there. I don't like the kind of stuff going on around my place.
Now, we've checked you through the record bureau, Evans. There's been 3 or 4 similar cases at your places the last few years, hasn't there?
A couple, yeah. It's a real problem. I don't know how you keep them out. Whole neighborhood around here, you know. Pretty hard to stop it, I guess.
We understand you were in the room there while the girl helped herself to a fix, is that right?
No, I wasn't in the room when she took the fix. I got there a couple minutes after. I didn't even know what was going on. You can ask Ray Sherman, the girl, too. They'll tell you I wasn't there.
Well, there's something else we wanted to ask you about. Sherman and the girl don't seem too sure of their stories. Can you straighten us out there?
How do you mean?
Well, Sherman tells us one thing, the girl tells us something else. Can't seem to get together.
Yeah, but I told him.
You told him what, Evan?
Well, nothing. I told him to tell the truth, that's all. That stupid Ray. He doesn't know half the time what he's doing.
Well, that doesn't make him much of a witness then, does it?
Well, what do you mean? He was there when that cop slugged me, beat me up. He could see that much.
Well, that's just it. We're not sure he did.
Huh?
The girl says Blanchard worked you over in the living room there. Sherman says Blanchard took you out in the kitchen and beat you up. Now, which is it?
I think I'm beginning to get the pitch.
How's that?
You're out to cover up for that cop. Is that it? Take care of your own?
We're assigned to investigate this thing, Evans, just like any other criminal case. Blanchard's not getting any more of a break than any other suspect would.
Yeah, sure.
We still haven't answered our question. Where did it happen, living room or kitchen?
The interview's all over, Sergeant. I got the pitch. You can take this back to your office. I'm going to get that cop convicted. If it's the last thing I do, you can count on that.
What's the matter, Evans? All we did was ask you a simple question.
Don't try to kid me, Sergeant. I got the angle. You're trying for a cover-up. Okay, go ahead and try.
Now, look, why don't you snap out of it, mister? Nobody's trying to cover up unless it's you. Sherman and the girl are your witnesses. Some of the points of their stories don't check out. We want to clear them up. Does that sound unreasonable?
I told you, Sergeant, it's no use. I got your angle.
Answer me one more thing, Evans.
You're on your own. I'm telling you nothing.
Who was the doctor that treated you after you were beaten up?
Down at Georgia Street, the emergency. You ought to know that.
No, I mean for your shoulder. We checked over your car down at Georgia Street. No mention there of a dislocated shoulder.
No, of course not. I didn't even know I had one until I was bailed out. I had my own doctor fix it.
You mind giving us his name?
Why should I? I was willing to go along, cooperate, then you started playing it cagey, trying to cover up for that cop. Now you work it out on your own.
All right, mister. Any way you want it.
You bet that's the way I want it. You had this whole thing framed from the beginning.
Now you're off the track, Evans.
You're not kidding me. You're trying to prove that cop's innocent, trying to make me out a liar. What am I supposed to do, help you prove I'm a liar?
No, you've helped enough already. Ed and I double-checked through Officer Blanchard's departmental record. It showed that Blanchard had been working his present beat for a little more than 4 months. Evans had told us that Blanchard allegedly had solicited payoffs from him at least 6 to 8 months before. The following day, Ed and I made further inquiries in the neighborhood of Evans' rooming house and also among his friends and associates. For one thing, we found out that Evans had not spent the entire morning and early afternoon in the house. He'd been seen leaving his place by several neighbors at about 10 a.m. Through one of his contacts, we got the address of an ex-wife, since remarried, a Marie Evans Zarconi. We located her in a small apartment in the East Wilshire district, a small brunette woman about 35.
Now, you tell us she used to be married to Evans.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, what kind of business was Evans in when you were married to him, ma'am?
Well, he had that rooming house over on Cortland
Yes,
Avenue.
ma'am, we know about that. Was there anything else?
What's the matter, anyway?
Just a routine investigation. We'd like to have as much background on him as you can remember. Are you on fairly good terms with Evans now?
No, I haven't seen him since we split up. About a year and a half ago, I think. That's why I couldn't stand it.
What was the trouble, ma'am? You mind telling us?
He just isn't much good, that's all. You find a lot of names to fit him. He was in everything.
How do you mean?
That's why I got away from him. Every cheap, lousy racket you can think of, he was in it. Peddling dope, blackmail, making book, some of the two-bit rackets. He's been in all of them, one after the other. I had to get away.
A rooming house on Cortland Avenue, that's where he's been operating all this time?
As long as I've known him, yeah. About 3 years, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. Is narcotics just a sideline with him, or does he go in for it pretty heavy?
He was in it pretty heavy when I left him. I don't know what he's been doing since. I don't care. Just soon forget all about it.
Yes, ma'am, I can understand.
What's the matter now, anyway? Got a case against him?
Well, not exactly. Evans is filed against a police officer, assault and battery, soliciting a bribe. We're investigating the charges.
Sounds like him. Some cop really rough him up?
Well, we don't know, ma'am. That's what we're trying to find out.
Oh. Well, I'd like to help you out. Don't think I can, though.
Well, just one more question, ma'am. While you were married to Evans, did you have a family doctor? I mean, one that you called regularly when you were sick?
Yeah, we did. Why?
Well, what was his name? Can you remember?
Yeah, Dr. Chase. Would you like his address?
2:47 p.m. We got to Dr. Chase's office, and luckily we found him in.
Take a look at this magazine, Joe.
What?
National Geographic. Looks like a real old one, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it sure does. Cover's torn off there.
Yeah. What do you know about that? It's older than I thought. Look at this here.
What do you got?
These pictures, eh? Look. 4 pages of them. Pretty grand affair, huh?
Yeah.
Teddy Roosevelt breaks ground for Panama Canal. How about that?
Yeah.
Sorry to keep you waiting, gentlemen.
That's perfectly all right, Doctor.
Let's see now you want to know about...
Mr. Evans, Doctor. George Evans?
Oh, yes, Evans. What was it exactly, Sergeant? What did you have in mind?
Well, the first thing we'd like to know is if you've treated Evans recently, the last week or so.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I have. He was in here, well, let me see now. Let's see, yes, I thought so. He was in here 3 days ago. I had some bad cuts and bruises.
Mm-hmm.
They'd already been treated, though. There wasn't much I could do.
Well, was there anything else wrong with him, Doctor?
No, not actually. I examined his shoulder. He insisted it hurt him. He wanted me to put it in a cast.
Mm-hmm. You put the cast on, did you?
Well, there really wasn't any need for it, but I put it on anyway. A little bit of psychiatry. Thought it'd make him feel better.
Well, how do you mean, Doctor? Wasn't any need for it?
Just one of those peculiar things. I've been treating Evans for some time, you know.
Yes, sir. That's what we understand.
It's fairly unusual. Hardly a rare case, though. Suppose you might call it a trick shoulder. Looks as though it might be dislocated, but it actually isn't. I think it's voluntary.
You mean he could do this thing himself?
Oh, yes. He can make it appear dislocated anytime he wants.
You are listening to Dragnet, authentic stories of your police force in action.
Fatima, America's first largest-selling blended cigarette. Now, best of all king-size cigarettes. Prove it yourself today. Compare Fatima with any other king-size cigarette.
1. Fatima's length filters the smoke 85 millimeters for your protection.
2. Fatima's length cools the smoke for your protection.
3. Fatima's length gives you those extra puffs, 21% longer than standard cigarette size.
And you get an extra mild and soothing smoke, plus the added protection of Fatima quality.
Friends, in Fatima, the difference is quality. Fatima contains the finest domestic and Turkish tobaccos superbly blended. And Fatima is extra mild, with a much different, much better flavor and aroma. Because of its quality, its extra mildness, its better flavor and aroma, more smokers now insist on Fatima than ever before. Switch to Fatima today. Remember, each king-size Fatima filters and cools the smoke, gives you those extra puffs, and you get an extra mild and soothing smoke, plus the added protection of Fatima quality. Buy Fatima. Best of all, king-size cigarettes.
Saturday, June 15th, 10 a.m. The investigation continued. Meantime, the newspapers were still making front-page material out of the story. One of the morning banner lines read, "Cop slugs cripples citizen to get payoff," and another one, "Police brutality rouses entire city." Our investigation went on. Early Saturday afternoon, Ed and I succeeded in locating a former friend of Evans who told us that he'd seen him downtown the morning of the day on which the alleged beating had taken place. At the same time, Evans had told us he was in bed nursing a hangover. The former friend, a Fred Werner, said Evans was in the company of two known gamblers, Carl Sweetser and Stanley Parrish. He told us that he'd spotted the three of them together at about 11:45 a.m. We questioned Sweetser and Parrish, but they refused to tell us anything. They admitted that they were acquainted with Evans, but they knew nothing about the beating he'd received. We continued making the rounds. 5:30 p.m. We dropped to the main jail and questioned Evans' two witnesses again, Ray Sherman and Eleanor Rowland. We got the same stories as before. 6:18 p.m. We got back to the city hall.
Long stretch, huh? Sure be glad to get home.
Yeah, not a bad day, though. We had fair luck, didn't we?
I suppose so. It could always be better. Sure like to get the straight story one way or the other.
You want to check the book, Ed, see if we got anything?
Yeah, okay. No, not much, Joe. Call from a Tom Donnelly, you know him?
Donnelly? No, that doesn't sound too familiar to me.
I got it. Personnel Jacobs. How's that? I'm afraid he's gone for the night. Yeah, huh? No, I'm sorry. I wouldn't know. All right, thank you. There's another message here for us, Joe, in the book.
Yeah?
From Blanchard's wife again. I'm getting to feel pretty silly about it, telling her the same thing night after night. Why don't you call her tonight?
Well, you've been doing all right. Why give up now? Personnel, Friday. Yeah. What was that? Mm-hmm. Your name? Yeah, okay. Uh-huh. 10 o'clock tonight? All right, that's fine. That's so. Sure. Yeah, we'll meet you. Okay. 10 o'clock. Yeah, fine. Bye. Sounds pretty good.
Who was it?
Guy by the name of Martin Kimbrough says he knows George Evans. He wants to talk to us tonight.
What's the pitch?
I don't know. Might be straight, might not.
What'd he say?
About Evans being worked over. He claims he knows all about it.
Yeah?
He says Blanchard couldn't possibly have done it. 7:05 p.m. We went over to Frank Tang's place, had some dinner, and then we drove out to interview the man who'd identified himself on the phone as Martin Kimbrough. We located him at the designated meeting place, a small bar just off Beverly Boulevard and Normandy Avenue. Kimbrough was a small man, slight build, middle-aged. He seemed less sure of himself than he did on the phone. He said that he knew George Evans fairly well and that up until 6 months before he'd been on good terms with him. He didn't go into details, but he gave us the general idea that Evans had cheated him on some business deal the two of them had been engaged in. We asked Kimbrough about the beating Evans had taken. He said it was common knowledge among the people he traveled with that gamblers Carl Sweetser and Stanley Parrish were responsible for beating up Evans. He'd welched on a gambling debt, and the two of them had been after him for months to pay off. He also said he knew a close friend of the two gamblers who told him that in private, Carl Sweetser openly boasted of beating up Evans. According to Kimbrough, the beating had taken place about 1 p.m. the Monday before, the same day Officer Blanchard allegedly had given him the beating. We located Sweetser in the coffee shop of a small hotel on South Rampart Street.
I'm afraid I don't know what you're talking about, Sergeant. I don't know any George Evans. I've never heard of him.
We understand you do, Sweetser. Heard you used to play cards with him. Got it from a couple of people.
That's all. I guess they made a mistake. I don't remember the name at all. Maybe he's going under a different one, huh?
Well, how about his description? You ought to remember that.
Well, maybe I meet quite a few people. It's kind of hard to place all of them, you know. What kind of look like?
Well, he's tall, dark complexion, dark hair, scar under his chin. He dresses pretty well, usually wears a suit.
No, doesn't mean a thing to me.
Runs a rooming house over on Cortlandt Avenue. He's been in quite a few rackets, all in all.
Sorry, I'm afraid I wouldn't know him.
Now, look, we haven't got any beef with you, Sweetser. That's not the point. Evans is trying to get away with a fast one. We're out to stop him. We could use your help. How about it?
I don't see how I can help you. What's the beef, anyway?
We think you know. It's been all over the newspapers the last couple of days.
Oh, yeah, a young cop? What's Evans got against him, anyway?
He's trying to save face. We figure that's what we hear, anyway.
Well, what do you mean?
Well, I think you know how Evans likes to play the big shot. It wouldn't do his stock much good around town if the real story got out.
I don't follow. What story are you talking about?
About his welching on a gambling tab, getting roughed up. If he says a cop did it, makes him look a lot better, doesn't it? He comes out of it pretty clean that way, doesn't he?
Pass us all, huh?
Yeah, sure.
Why don't you guys have some coffee? I hate to eat alone.
Okay, as soon as the waitress comes around.
Yeah. Oh, what else you hear about this, Evans? Pretty bad boy, that, right?
Bad enough. He's got a fast mouth, telling quite a few stories around the neighborhood.
That's so. Yeah, I might remember him. Tall, dark guy who runs a rooming house.
Yeah, that's right. You should remember him. He's mentioned you in a couple of the stories he's passing around.
Yeah, where'd you get that?
Talking to a fellow last night. He says Evans claims that card game he was in with you was rigged. That's why he didn't pay you off. He claims you and Stan Parrish framed the whole thing.
That's a laugh. Huh? Phony bums are all alike. Lose a couple of dollars and squeal like a pig. What's this Evans doing now?
He's up for narcotics rap. He's out on bail.
Cheap punk. What's your stake in this thing?
We're trying to clear the thing up. Apparently, Evans figures he's going to frame the young cop, save face, talk himself out of a bad situation.
Oh, what do you want from me?
The truth.
I'm not going to talk myself into jail, young cop or not.
We're not asking you to.
You want to clear the case, huh? All you need is proof the cop didn't give Evans a working over.
That's right.
Okay, you got a deal.
Without actually incriminating himself in any way, Carl Sweetser gave us information and leads which, after they were checked out, showed definitely that George Evans was slugged and beaten in a neighborhood at least a mile from his rooming house. We talked to half a dozen people who saw Evans in that neighborhood shortly after 1 p.m., the day of the incident. We talked to the clerk at the drugstore where Evans went to buy iodine and bandages. They all told us that he bore the markings of a severe beating as early as 1 o'clock that afternoon. Evans had told us repeatedly that he'd received the beating at the hands of Officer Blanchard no earlier than 3 or 3:15 that afternoon. Ed and I drove over to the main jail where we interviewed Evans' 2 witnesses again. The girl, Eleanor Rowland, was the first to break. She admitted that Evans had promised both her and her friend, Ray Sherman, $50 apiece if they would go along with him in his plan to frame Officer Blanchard for assault and battery and soliciting a bribe. After an hour of questioning, Sherman admitted the same thing. We had a stenographer take their statements. 4:50 p.m., Ed and I got in the car and drove out to the rooming house on Cortlandt Avenue.
Yeah? Oh, how are you, Sergeant?
You want to get your coat, Evans? Like to see you downtown.
What for? What's it about?
Filing a false report. You know the story.
What are you talking about? What do you mean a false report?
You've been checked out all over town, Evans. Your doctor, your ex-wife, your gambling friends. We talked to them all.
So what? What's that prove anyway?
Proves you were lying, mister. That young Officer Blanchard, he didn't beat you up. There's nothing wrong with your shoulder either. Dr. Chase will vouch for that.
Look, I don't care what he says. I don't care what any of them say. I got my case against that cop. I'm sticking with it. You're not going to talk to me.
Why don't you give it up, Evans? We had a talk with Carl Sweetser.
What did he tell you?
Enough to convince us you're trying to frame Blanchard. We've got statements from people who saw you before you got back home Monday afternoon. They say you were mussed up then. That was at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You've been telling us Blanchard wasn't at your place till 3 o'clock. Now, how do you explain that?
Well, I don't know. Maybe I didn't have the time right. My watch could have been off. Doesn't make any difference anyway.
It's going to make a lot of difference. How about getting your coat?
I'm going to call my lawyer first.
That isn't going to do much good. We've got statements from your 2 witnesses, Ray Sherman and the girl. They've admitted the whole thing. Now, you haven't got much of a case left.
I don't care what they say. They're lying. Both of them, they're lying.
You ought to know, mister.
What?
You taught them how.
The story you have just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On September 2nd, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 89, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial.
And now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you, George Fenneman. Friends, I sincerely want you to smoke Fatima and prove Fatima quality. You know, we have a lot of confidence in our king-size cigarette. Enough confidence to make you this money-back guarantee. Buy a pack of Fatimas. Compare them with any other king-size cigarette. If you're not convinced Fatima is better, just return the pack and the unsmoked Fatimas by August 1st, 1952, and we'll give you your money back plus postage. Fatima, Box 37, New York 1. Buy Fatima. Best of all, king-size cigarettes.
A complaint was received on George Evans from the city attorney's office for violation of Section 5243 Municipal Code, filing a false report to the police department, a misdemeanor. He received a sentence of 30 days in the county jail. Ray Sherman was tried and found guilty of Section 11,500 Health and Safety Code, possession of narcotics. He was sentenced to 1 year in the county jail and 3 years probation. Eleanor Rowland was filed on as a bag addict, Section 11,721 Health and Safety Code. She was sentenced to 60 days in the county jail. Officer Harry Blanchard was cleared of the charges pending against him and was reinstated with back pay. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Technical advisors Captain Jack Donahoe, Sergeant Marty Wynn, and Sergeant Vance Brasher. Heard tonight were Barney Phillips and Whit Connor. Script by Jim Moser. Music by Walter Schumann. Hal Gibney speaking.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all king-size cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Now it's Counter Spy on NBC.